everyone, and welcome to the next instalment of Arthena. Those of you who don't know me already, I'm Nora Kestrel. I'll be your host for the evening. And welcome to the annual event. I don't think I managed to do one last year. I apologise, but for the last 4 years at any rate, it's been one night a year where I've got together some awesome female and non-binary performers. They've come together. We've had all different types of art, not just poetry. We've had stories, we've had paintings, we've had live cartoons, we've had loads of different things. So I'm super excited to have the online event tonight. And I guess the beauty of having it online is we have got a massive, wonderful showcase for you that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. And I'm literally so excited. This is possibly actually the best lineup we've ever had. Just to say a big thank you, first of all, to Whisky Beards, who are hosting WINCHESTERFEST, hosted WINCHESTERFEST Festival and the after party, which I've had a massive honour of being producer of. And yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our first performer. So our first performer is Kathy Ray, and I first met Kathy, actually she was performing in one of the first instalments of WINCHESTERFEST, and I loved her work, and she has the best set of books ever, like seriously, best bookcase ever. So Kathy Ray is a spoken word artist, poet and model based in the Midlands. With consummate timing, her debut collection, Your Cleaner Hates You and Other Poems, was published just in time for the global pandemic. Prior to all of this, she was a multiple slam winner and headline poet out in the world. Her performances now tend to be more home-based, and we're very lucky to have her tonight. She campaigns in a tiny way against the invisibility of older women in the world of fashion, and she recently completed an MA in creative writing at the University of Leicester. She's embarking now on a PhD looking at mental health and poetry. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Kathy Ray, everybody. Oh, we can hear you now. I've been trying to get you, Kathy. We couldn't hear you just now, but now we can.
Shall I start again? I'm so sorry.
Of course, yes, start again. No worries.
So sorry. Okay. It's never happened. They all say this. Okay, so 3 poems, 2 ranty feminists. Last one's about dogs and love. Okay. There's more to your cleaner than meets the eye. There is more to your cleaner than meets the eye. That one gets up at 5, runs as fast and far as heart and lungs can bear, revels in the recognition of early morning pavement pounders, and then puts on the uniform of tabard, bleach-stained leggings, becomes invisible again. That one knows the name of every star that's in the sky, and more than that, can tell you why they are so named, but has spent so long on hands and knees, she fears she may have lost the knack of looking up. That one's boyfriend's banged up again. Working double shifts, she has curated a collection of childcare so complicated, tenuous, that in a gallery you would call it web or DNA of every day. That one says she's lucky. In a refugee camp far away at 15, 16, the soldiers said she was too old to rape, but mostly she was left alone. That one speaks 5 languages, including yours, so knows exactly what your husband and his mates make of her arse when she bends down to scrub your skirting boards. Laser jets from lowered lids if looks could kill. That one holds a broken bird, a touch so light, it's if her hands were wings and not these red and swollen things, fingerprints burnt off with bleach. Convenient, she always thinks, if she starts a new career as master thief. And this one's writing poetry, verse as vicious as vipers, mouth so acidic it makes diamonds bleed. This one's writing poetry. There is more to your cleaner than you will ever see. Thank you. So the next poem, Shamima Begum is, depending on the paper you read, either a dangerous terrorist or a victim of online grooming. She is currently still a stateless individual, an act of illegality by the British government. Shamima Begum, for Shamima Begum, bothered. In the windowless room at the end of the corridor, today, oh God. Completely gone. Sorry.
Hey, no, there's absolutely no worries at all.
Give me 1 second. Completely gone. Completely gone. So sorry.
No, that's no worries. You're happy.
I'm
I'm
there.
happy for you to...
No, I'm there. Sorry. Okay, so bothered, question mark. 1, my mum's got a new boyfriend, proper waste man, but I'm not bothered. 2, my stepdad threw the phone down the stairs, cracked my screen and everything, but I'm not bothered. 3, he said the pictures were just for us. Now everyone in school's seen them, but I'm not bothered. 4, my uncle's a right pedo, and for a minute the mask almost cracks and it is smashed back into place with a ferocious anger. But he's not fucking touching me, and besides, I'm not bothered. In the windowless room at the end of the corridor today, we are not bothered about Shakespeare. We are not bothered about Steinbeck. We are especially not bothered about the committing to memory of 16 or 17 random poems, just to prove we could all have had a grammar school education. And I'm trying really hard to not be bothered by the simple truth that half my class don't read well enough to even understand the questions on a GCSE examination paper. Shamima, virgin bride on your wedding night? Was your warrior husband gentle, playful even, or already battle shattered? Did he grab at you with hot, hard hands while you lay, face blank still, not bothered? And later, did you run your hands over the heavy black fabric that engulfed you, shrouded your swelling belly, or were you already fatalistic, a shrug, inshallah, if he wills it? And later still, when you held your first, and your second, and your third dead baby, were you bothered then, or did you seek refuge in the rhetoric of revolution? Shamima, you would never have ended up in my classroom. You were, by all accounts, bright, able, hard-working, but in some other room with light and air and a smart board that actually bloody works. Were you already learning to keep your head down, face blank still, not bothered while you waited for something to happen? And back in my room, Sadiq and M Squared and Leighton and Tanika and Tequila and Toya and Leighton and Joey and Amy with an eye of still, not bothered, waiting for the next thing to happen. Thank you. Okay, the last poem is lighter. Rescue me. So the Polish dog is old, a little moth-eaten, shabby around the seams. She resembles nothing more than a much-loved greying bear. My dogs are small, sometimes overawed by the more rumbustious play of bigger beasts, but they enjoy her undemanding company, so sometimes we walk together, the Polish dog, the Polish boy, and us. And the Polish boy says she is shy. The Polish boy says my stepfather used to beat her, and I see him choosing not to go there, not today. The Polish boy says, but if you give her time and space and let her set the pace, sometimes she will let you pet her. And when we sit so she can rest, she does just that. Head to his knee, milky eyes fixed upon his face. My dogs are bored, cast round for excitement, see Indy coming through the gates. Indy spent the first 6 months of her life in a room because no one seemed to know that dogs need fresh air and exercise and other dogs. Indy, Instagram sensation, different outfit every day, lots of likes, not much love. Finally rescued and rehomed to the yoga teacher. And we all walk together. The boys lean into each other with an easy intimacy, say something I don't quite catch. And later the yoga teacher says, we are together. And the yoga teacher says, we met on this park because of our dogs. And the yoga teacher says, we are happy. And all of this, boys, dogs, park, all of this is a tiny miracle, but blink, blink, and you might miss it. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fabulous night. You can find me on YouTube, Saying Them is Here, and you can find me on Instagram if you want to talk about slow fashion and body positivity. Have a banging night. Thank you for having me.
Woo! You can't necessarily hear it at home, but I can see all the beautiful faces of all the performers, and they absolutely love that, Kathy. I was watching them a whole time. Oh, man. Oh, your words are just brilliant, and I cannot thank you enough for being able to make it here tonight. Thank you. Okay, so without further ado, I will now talk about our second performer. Our second performer, I had the wonderful chance to work with on a national writers retreat at Arvon in collaboration with Apples and Snakes. Luckily, it was in the beginning of March 2020, so we managed to all go just before the pandemic hit us, you know, the proper big, you know, we weren't allowed out anywhere. So we actually did manage to meet, which is brilliant. She's been all around doing some freaking amazing stuff. I mean, her bio is just wow, and her work is just so beautiful, beautifully poised between humor and just really raw emotion. And like 1 minute you're laughing, and the next minute you're crying. And so this is Rachel Cleverly, and Rachel Cleverly splits her time between writing and worrying. She graduated from University of East Anglia's Creative Writing MA in 2019, and she's completed writers' residencies with BBC Radio Norfolk and Rich Mix. She has been published by Ache Magazine, Filler, Lucent Dreaming, Algia, and the UEA Publishing Project. Her work has been shortlisted by Bad Betty Press and A3 Magazine, and she is an alumnus of Apples and Snakes, The Writing Room, and BBC Words First. And now can we welcome to the virtual stage, please, Rachel Cleverly.
Hey, thanks. I decided to sit down for this, but I don't know if that's a good idea because it makes me feel really like lazy and sleepy, but I didn't want to stand. Cool. It's been, it's weird reflecting on doing the Arvon course, because I remember that was like the last week of normal and we were all there like, wow, imagine if the apocalypse was happening outside, and then we left and it was. So, hey.
It was really funny as well, because we were like, we have no contact with the outside world. We can't see anybody. Like,
I turned my phone on and I got all these alerts that were like, coronavirus in the UK, and everyone was like, it's here, it's come. But now it's like we're in a writing retreat all the time. So that's nice in some ways. So my first poem I'm going to read is called My Boyfriend Bought a Bicycle. Picking up the bike tomorrow eve, explains my boyfriend through the window of Facebook Messenger. I miss my tonsils and I miss getting the bus. He is mostly helmeted though, riding over the river, about an hour 42 without traffic. The roads are congested. New routes trickle out as far as Whitechapel, the paint phlegmily dribbled onto the tarmac. An Uber could throw him like spittle. 3 dots ripple. On my way now, types my boyfriend. So this next one is called No Sport Until I'm Sane. My flatmate has boyfriends she doesn't like. She leaves them at the other end of the sofa. They like playing golf and keeping things clean. I don't understand golf, and the boys at the end of the sofa. What's the point of it all, I ask. Get the ball into the hole in as few hits as possible, the boys reply. I hadn't been asking about golf though. The boys are sinking into the sofa, pulling down the throw in an attempt to slip away. 2 now perch on the armrest. And then what, I ask. You do the same on the next course, they reply. And then, the same. And then, same again. The boyfriends, sliding from the seat one by one, gesture for me to stand. They work together to pull the throw tight across the sofa, tuck in each edge. We return to our separate ends, neater but less comfortable. And you just do that until you die, I say. No, the boyfriends reply. There's only 18 holes. And this next one is called Ants. I think you can tell that I've been working from home for a really long time. So, when I introduced my new colleagues to Dad, he said I wasn't paid enough to take on a management position. It didn't matter that they were always first ones in and last ones to leave. And they were at that moment steadily pushing my pen like a rolling pin, trying to flatten down the upturned corners of my book, but that might have just been a draft. Dad organised their leaving party. He poured a few drinks and let them gather round. In his toast, he managed to sound like the laying off was only fair. This was our home, our house. We have to make a living too. They left the table in drips and drabs and drunk us dry. A few still showed up the next day, but it could be hard to move on. Dad followed them back to their place for a quiet word. At 5:30, he set off to the back of the garden. I saw him, crouched like a hangnail, get a bottle from his coat, lift an arm, his hand in a handshake motion, the nest coated in poison. I've adapted well to working from home. And this next one, I actually didn't realise this, but it's called Back to Work. This morning, I made eye contact with myself for the entirety of a 48-minute video interview. My manager asked me where I see myself in 5 years' time. My mum says I'm careless. I forget to switch off the hob. I walk around with my phone on 6%. Windows propped open when I'm out. Marmite sucking in its lids, only partway screwed. What are you trying to do, my mum says? Kill us? And I'm gonna do one more. That's called Gone Fishing. The road there was quiet. He dropped his wife at school, unhooked himself from the lines of cars swimming sleepily towards the town. He'd waited a week after the ponds reopened before ploughing straight into the stream of men who'd lined the water's edge holding rods and flies. He knew his limit. 2 trouts, not too big or too small, just enough for dinner. He extracts the silver fly, unweaves the hook caught in car seat fabric, then plods the timely plod of a man who can cut hours and let them sizzle and evaporate in his palms. He walks around the pond. My spine is the shape of a bubble in bed. I watch the city ripple through my phone, reel-ins of drunk friends, liquid cars dissolving into traffic. Midday unsnags itself. I download another movie and he tests the water. That's it.
Ah, Rachel, I love your work, and I think the thing I potentially love most about your work is how you manage to fit so many beautiful ideas and so many things into such tiny pieces of work. Like, I wish I could be that concise. I feel sorry for my mum because the amount of essays she has to proofread and cut like a bazillion words. Like, every time you absolutely deliver. So can we give a big massive round of applause, please, to Rachel Cleverly?
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Luckily, my housemates know what I'm doing. Otherwise, they'd be like, "Why is she just in her room clapping?" So I would like to introduce our next performer. And our next performer, I actually met for the first time, well, actually a while ago, a couple of years back now. They were hosting an event in Cornwall, and I had the absolute honour of performing. And she contacted me and asked me would I like to perform, which obviously I did. And since then, we've had her on several Winchesterfest in the original festival. And we've also had her, she's performed at Dan Simpson's workshops. If you don't know who Dan Simpson poet is, you're really missing out because he's fantastic. So without further ado, this is Tuesday Gale, and Tuesday is a bisexual and disabled writer who defines herself as wildly human, which is reflected in her autobiographical musings of heartfelt strength and powerful use of language. Tuesday has transfixed audiences in lockdown, breaking the barriers of distance. Although Tuesday is a wild woman, she can be captured on social media at Tuesday Gale, or if you're lucky, in her natural habitat, walking her dog across the Cornish moors or the crisp southwest coastlines. Please welcome to the stage, Tuesday Gale.
Thank you for having me. I'm not really going to introduce any of my poems, just the title, and get straight in there. So the first one, Winter sits in our foreboding skies. Derelict. Devotion abandoned all but the shabby tea light that I tend. Ghosts of our children brand the window panes, shadowed by the waning sun. Dormant. Ivy holds decaying walls. The shabby flame inside burns. Protect it from icy blades protruding from the draft. Floorboards echo the shadows of your footsteps, emitted. Sat frozen in silence, protecting the flame with assertive vigilance. Disrobed against the floor beside our unmade bed, I wait for our sun to rise and wax again. I'm 6 months sober, and that's brought back a lot of memories for me, and wrote a villanelle about it. So this is a villanelle for the weekend. Spank stilettos across frayed carpet, light refracted, drained vodka bottles acquired, rise to lipstick on hardened kebab meat, scarlet. Air struggles to fill the caged tar pits, dressed with breasts that are so desired. spank stilettos across frayed carpet. Mouldy debauchery stains like a harlot, wrapped in a blanket of discontent, so tired. Rise to lipstick on hardened kebab meat scarlet. Mirror balls reflecting onto the walls starlit. Regulated squirm until we expired. Spank stilettos across frayed carpet. Oily tears cleanse cheeks that are lit. No makeup remover is required. Rise to lipstick on hardened kebab meat scarlet. Last night's dance floor felt so inspired. How in each move bodies were admired. Spank stilettos across frayed carpet. Rise to lipstick on hardened kebab meat scarlet. A dance with my Salvatore. Trickling in drips and drabs, it begins. In quiet stillness, my skin moves from within, slowly crawling. He begs me to dance. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. To scratch will only make him beg more loudly. I begin to shuffle and sway gently. I try to soothe him into submission. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Crawling against my cotton embrace, he leads me to pick up the pace. With each tick of the guest list, he intensifies. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, bursting through the doors of capillaries, filling the dance floor of the dermis, determined and frustrated, he begs me to dance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The party now in full swing, scared of what I'm missing, tentatively I begin to rub. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Rhythmically, I give in to his call, trying not to scratch the floor. I dance with my Salvatore. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. With each count, I become weaker. He leads me to rub even deeper. In full force, he increases his demands. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Each step we begin digging. Before I know it, nails are clawing, savagely ripping into my skin. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This dance becoming so sore, blood dripping onto the floor, my flesh becoming exposed. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. My arms flail and fall. He continues his fiery call, ferociously burnt red raw. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Pounding for the encore. He ruptures every pore, my twisted Salvatore. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Dancing in such disdain, morphine to ease the pain. But here's the itch that I cannot abstain. Oh, I need to catch my breath after doing that one. And this one's called Keep Running. Haunted by perennial danger, first encounters of an angry soul, awakening in deadly boredom, carving out your milestones, a stonemason is relentless. Dust from your insulated harm smothers threadbare carpet. Sparsely lit in the candlelight, dancing on your walls. The television set in the corner plays a primitive dream of neglected value, a silent movie, but in full technicolor. Echoing eerie creaks, the hypnotic rocking chair embraces its glancing urn and shotgun. Shivers running down your spine like flinching oak-barreled whiskey. Concerning desire of intention suffocating the room. Autonomous oblivion of denial chained to your consciousness. Instinctive, irrational, predisposed and poised for survival. Fueled by your guilt and propelled by the shame. All you can do is close the doors and keep running. And this one's a pantoum that I wrote for my virtual bestie that I've made during lockdown for Andy. It's called Empathetic Umbrella. When you lend me your empathetic umbrella, cover me under its high-pitched hollow, connecting our cognitive novellas. Always think of me in yellow. Cover me under its high-pitched hollow, warm me with your messages. Always think of me in yellow. Smooth my prickles with your passages. Warm me with your messages. Carve my lips skywards with your wit and cheer. Smooth my prickles with your passages. Soothing me with your words sincere. Carve my lips skyward with your wit and cheer. The warmth of your medicinal verse comes. Soothing me with your words sincere. A reciprocal appetite rolls off our tongues. The warmth of your medicinal verse comes, dripping into blank messages and empty pages. A reciprocal appetite rolls off our tongues, filling delicious notebooks that light up our faces. Dripping into blank messages and empty pages. A comfortable pouring of solitude in our voice notes, filling delicious notebooks that light up our faces. Freedom to sulk in gentle trustworthiness, we hold hope. A comfortable pouring of solitude in our voice notes, connecting our cognitive novellas. Freedom to sulk in gentle trustworthiness, we hold hope when you lend me your empathetic umbrella. And I just want to give a little warning, you might want to mute for a second if you have had any experiences of rape. So I'll just give you a little thumbs up when I'm done. I am the same age as my mother. This conversation had already begun on my walk home, his closing door sending shockwaves rattling through my bones. Reaching the end of his road, clouded and within a state of trance. I may have left, but I was still full of him. It felt like my parents. From the school gate, the wind carries jovial screams which penetrate. Would they see me? Please, don't see me. It's blowing into my pores, chilling right through to my core. Cars speeding past me in slow motion as this feeling grew, their occupants' eyes studying me as if they knew. Picturing my father's dismay, imagining what his friends at the station might say. The leaves outside are forming, sprouting towards the sunshine. Groomed and nurtured, they reach out to their sweet Valentine. That sunshine warms blushing skin, challenging the cold within. Leaves are comforting, not pretending to be wise or judging something that they just can't comprehend, only innocently restrained by a branch until they enter their freefall. With every step, my feet hit the floor like an almighty waterfall. Crashing through the front door, I was greeted by the force of my motherhood. The school's been on the phone. Where have you been? Cowering with what was left of my girlhood, there was no need for me to digress. Suddenly, in that moment, she chose to confess. In that moment, as we cradled each other, we were both 13. And thank you very much for having me this evening.
No problem. Thank you ever so much for being here. Honestly, I think probably the thing I've best seen is I've had the opportunity of sharing lots of workshops with you. So I've had the opportunity to really see you progress. And you're just, I remember how scared you were of performing at the beginning. And now you own it. Like, that was such a beautiful performance.
Thank you. I just learned that it's so much easier not to talk about them and just to boom, get it out there and the work talk for itself.
Well, the approach is definitely working for you because that was absolutely amazing. Can we give a big, massive round of applause, please, to Tuesday?
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us on to our next performer. And surprisingly, we're actually running a little bit early. Like, that never happens. So I'm going to start by saying how I met them. So I first met Kath, or Kay Blair. I first met her at the Arvon retreat, again, the National Writers' Retreat we had the opportunity to do in March in collaboration with Apples and Snakes. And I have to say, honestly, I have met some stellar poets coming out of that retreat. It was just an amazing week of, the food was great, the company was brilliant, the workshops are incredible, the bedrooms, like, and I honestly have to say, out of all the bios I received, if I had to give an award to the funniest bio, it would definitely be Kath's. So without further ado, Kay Blair is a proud member of London Queer Writers and helps to run and host their LGBTQ+ spoken word night Speak. It's held at the Jago in Dalston, so presumably they will get start up again soon, and if so, you should definitely go. In June 2017, she took part in creating a poem for London at Spread the Word's Young Poets Laureate for London Poetry Lab. And in 2019, she was part of the Apples and Snakes project, The Writing Room, which I actually believe you were there with Rachel, right?
Mm-hmm. And Christy.
And Christy too. All of which I met at the Arvon retreat. She's been published in the XX Poetry Anthology, Spoken Word London's Anti-Hate Anthology, the Valley Press Anthology of Prose Poetry, and Dear Damsel's website. Her favourite band is the Mountain Goats, and her favourite ice cream flavour is mint chocolate chip, And her husband didn't really die in mysterious circumstances. That's just how she dresses. So can we please welcome to the virtual stage, please, Kath.
Hello. So wonderful to be here. I'm so glad to be included. Tonight, I thought I would read from a couple of anthologies that I'm in, just because they're so wonderful. So I'm starting with my poem that's in the Valley Press anthology of prose poetry. It is called Conversations in the Cornfield. Angel in the cornfield, better than any scarecrow. 6 wings, 6 eyes, 6 limbs. The number of the angel is 666, and the only ever answer if you say it thrice in Latin. Latin is a dead language. Angels are a dead concept. I used to think corn was golden until I saw the angel's wings. Then I realized that human perception misses out on all sorts of colors. We're limited that way. Sometimes I whisper old prayers. Our Father, who art in heaven, my Father, who is not God, but still taught me that to turn to a pillar of salt would be a blessing. Morning breaks, bloody and bruised, the angel stands in the cornfield, a rotten tooth in the mouth of the world, the broken glass in the gutter, swept away during morning cleanup with the rest of last night's bad decisions. I saved a lizard from the train tracks yesterday. It was tiny and easily missed. The angel is bigger than the lizard. I don't know how to move them off the train tracks. I don't ask them about heaven or salvation or forgiveness. Instead, I tell them about how I'm bad at practicing the piano and that I went to Catholic school to get away from old bullies and instead found new, worse bullies, and how I saw a video on making your own kombucha and how it felt the first time I kissed a girl. The angel tells me my progress forward might cost me those who wish me to be static. I joke that the TV has only ever been static since they arrived because I'm uncomfortable with the thought of abandonment, even if I'm not the one being abandoned. The angel tells me there's never anything good on TV these days anyway. So I'm also featured in Spoken Word London's Anti-Hate Anthology. Spoken Word London is a night that used to run every 2 weeks in the VFD in Dalston. The Anti-Hate Anthology is split up into different sections, and I am in the queer and the faith section. So I'm going to start with the queer section, which is She Forgot to Buy Garlic. God returns from the off-license, covered in blood, the heads of the unworthy in one hand and oranges in the other, dips fingertips into the primordial soup on the stove, plucks out the stars the same way a crow plucks out the eyes of roadkill. Barbed teeth reduce the celestial to dust in a matter of seconds. She peels an orange. It's difficult to discern between the red of the blood and her ruby nail polish. She murmurs something esoteric as she presses the slice to my lips. I open my mouth obediently, the dutiful servant. Copper and citrus is holy on my palate. And then we have the faith section. So this is called Whose Paradise Is This? Lilith puts the cigarette to Eve's rosy apple lips, lights it the old-fashioned way. Match strikes sizzle echoing off bathroom tiles, music vibrating through the doors into their bones. Are you going to heaven? They're waiting for the bass to drop, for the martini to sour, for the apple to ripen, for their glass to be refilled, 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 vodka and cranberry, Rangoon ruby molten down their throats. Eve takes a drag, blows a smoke ring that will never be a halo. Adam is out on the dance floor. His hips don't lie, but his mouth sure does. He's not looking for Eve. He will blame her for his bad decisions anyway. Has anyone else died for you? Eve looks at Lilith and sees the same cloth, the same dirt, rich, dark earth that bore beautiful fruit. When Eve looks at herself, all she sees is the extra rib. She asks Lilith, how do you do it? How did you refuse to lie down, refuse to grin and bear it, refuse to grow small and humble and doting, refuse to simper and smile and accept that all you are good for is being his wife? When will you repent? Lilith, with the liquid black eyes, Lilith with the sharp white teeth, Lilith with the snake-like tongue says, do not trust the word of the Lord. Do not trust his mercy or his salvation. Punishment is more familiar to him than forgiveness. I was made from the same clay as his beloved Adam. I am his equal. The only way out of the garden is to rebel. So, Lilith says, plucking the cigarette from Eve's loose grip, are you going to bite? So I thought I would read something new to finish off, really leaning into the aesthetic of a sort of 1950s housewife who totally did not murder her husband. This is called Boomers Killed the Aspic. I've always believed that the aspic is the perfect visual representation of subliminal female rage. Here, darling, while you went to work and said inappropriate things to your secretary, I spent hours encasing your food in edible resin because there's only so many times I can clean this house to forget that I'm not allowed to open a bank account without your permission. So how will I ever escape this? Real aspic takes patience, takes waiting in line at the counter, thwack of meat on wood, blood drip into steel sink, yet not a drop on those butcher's whites, pressed, polished, and what can I get you, ma'am? Can't make gelatin without pig's ears and snout, your soul staring back at you as it simmers. Flush puckering to separate and melt, leaving discarded bones. Herbs and salt to season, you could crystallize an entire relationship in here. An amber preservation of all the expectations that were never met. Or an entire fish, spine and all, just have fun with it. It needs at least 4 hours to set. Plenty of time to seethe, to count the knives in the drawer, measure out a lethal dose of rat poison, put it back, measure it out again. It would be so easy, just one slip of the hand, spice up his martini better than any olive. But the aspic would go to waste, and you spent so long crafting it. Aspic is best served cold. The exact temperature of your marriage should suffice. Use the good silverware, the wedding china, the carcass under gelatin like a magnifying glass, hold it up to the light. Highlight a lipstick stain on his collar. A shade, he said, looked unflattering on you. Slice. Swallow. Thank you so much for listening and for having me. You can find me on Twitter at WhatTheBlair, and you can find me on Instagram at urban_barbarian. Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, Kath, honestly, like the way you managed to put, you think like two themes or two images that don't go together, and you blend them together beautifully. Like I'm always mesmerized whenever I listen to your prose. And that sounds like I'm gushing, but literally like, wow. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for performing. Can everyone please give a massive, massive round of applause to Kath? You can't hear us at home, but everyone is clapping. So I would like to move on to our next performer. They well, I don't know what to say about them. Let me think. We first met at an open mic down in Cornwall. Those of you who don't know, I mean, I bang on about it quite a bit, but I'm from Cornwall originally, and we met at some open mics. And then I had the honour of hosting my own open mic, and Kerry came and performed at that open mic, and she was absolutely incredible. And she since then went to perform at more of my open mics and other open mics around Cornwall. And we were very lucky, actually. We had her also. She came and performed on the first round of WINCHESTERFEST, and she's back again for us tonight. And so Carrie Vincent, her bio is, she's not about poetry, hip hop or rap. She's a mother of 9 with uncontrollable yap. And if it's her uncontrollable lap, it's bloody brilliant. So can we please welcome Carrie to the virtual stage?
Ooh, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Oh, you can hear me, okay. Hi, thank you, Laura. Thanks, I've sort of jumped in here at the last minute. I haven't done any writing even for months, let alone performing. So this is just old stuff, and it's like a step getting back on the ladder of doing it again. So I'm just gonna sort of perform something that I wrote at the beginning of the year. And it just seems like a million years ago now. It all seems a bit dated, but there we go. This is called Be Brave and Bold. Do you believe in fairy tales? I believe that fairy tales are true, to be retold by me and you, with morals within each in turn, to help us grow, ensure we learn. Goldilocks is don't be greedy, Robin Hood is help the needy, 3 Pigs is be resilient and strong, and Red Riding Hood, well, it can't be wrong. But my favourite fairy tale of all is of a boy so very small, how tragedy would steal his laughter, but he'd find his happy ever after. We have reports from Paris that Princess Diana of Wales has been killed in a car accident. Her partner, J.D. Fayed, has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi on 2 motorcycles. I remember it. Sheer silence, August 1997. The nation distraught by news reports of a princess called to heaven. Life taken. Instantly impossible, it couldn't be. We watched the cortege on TV, that smack played back so vividly. Princess of Arts, we called her. England's hillside she would grace. I won't forget, it's forever etched, the youngest lad's sad face. Just 12 years old, no mum to hold, forget his wealth, forget his gold. He had to rise, be brave and bold. You boy, stand still, do as you're told. Diana died, the nation cried. Young Harry watched it all, as other children his age thought of homework, friends and school. He overheard the conversations, all conflicting explanations, saw the chase, her lose the race. He witnessed the sobbing of our nation. The pitfalls of the limelight, learnt at a tender age. His fairy tale was over, he'd reached his final page. Meanwhile, I'd met my own prince. I was smitten with my lover, and I finally plucked the courage up for him to meet my mother. So we would live together, but trouble would begin. I always was a village girl, and he came from Pembrey. So we moved to this tiny flat in Pembrey town, and that was that. But a new young mum I would soon find. My heart, it yearns for Constantine. Don't get me wrong, Pembrey is strong. This age-old town folk get along. I had company and friends and all, and the toddler group at the preschool. I remember how he told her, his recently widowed mum, I love it here, you know that, but 'tis best for everyone. She looked at him straight in the eye. She said, here, it's fine with me. You go to where you need to be. You enjoy that handsome family. That young family grew up, as did the prince as well. An American actress would rewrite his fairy tale. She gave a spark to reignite. His fairy tale was back in sight. Diana would say it was right. His next chapter was oh so bright. And the nation came in thousands to watch him wed his bride. Parties had for England's lad, only colourful tears will cry. We watched them start a family, and something familiar to me, a heartfelt plea from her to he to move back home. In her case, over the sea. But now the media step in, his bride don't fucking hate her. Once perfect, polished princess is now branded a dictator. They want to live together for forever overseas in Kensington or Canada. They're part of our monarchy. Prince William has 3 children now. Harry's 6th to the throne. This heart of gold is brave and bold to change the life he's known. Prince Harry's found his princess, and you know what? I can't wait. They walk the aisle now, they all smile and fly in from the States. Piers Morgan, he can spout off. Where's the damn respect? The grandson of our monarch, that small boy, does he forget? Because I don't. Just 12 years old, no mum to hold, forget his wealth, forget his gold. He had to rise, be brave and bold. You boy, stand tall, do as you're told. They say it's Meghan's influence. I clearly see another. It's to escape the fucking limelight that so cruelly killed his mother. And I know what she would say because I've heard it all before. In 1998 from my own mother-in-law. She'd look at him straight in the eye. She'd say, look, it's fine with me. You go to where you need to be. Remember, you're the monarchy, but enjoy that precious family. I believe that fairy tales are true to be retold by me and you, with morals within each in turn to help us grow, ensure we learn. Goldilocks is don't be greedy. Robin Hood is help the needy. Three Pigs is be resilient and strong. And Red Riding Hood, looks can be wrong. Prince Harry is our King of Hearts. American hillsides he will grace. As we unveil his fairy tale, be bold, be brave, and have faith. I've got one more. I think we had 10 minutes. I'm really, really rubbish at timekeeping. I think I'm okay for one more.
Yeah,
and apologies to Laura, because I'm just doing really old stuff that I've learned a while ago. I haven't learned anything over lockdown, and I read really poorly, so I can't read my own work. I have to learn it, which has been impossible with the children. And at the moment, we're having bouts of isolation, and then children off school because they're vulnerable. Also, you can imagine. But I haven't got a child in reception class anymore. This isn't the school reception class mascot. This is one of our teddies from home. But for the purpose of the poem, it's the reception class mascot of our school, who has been so for many years. And this I wrote and recorded, and it's on my blog, Commotion and Emotion, after a blinding row with my then 17-year-old son. He's now 18 and he's absolutely lovely, but at 17 he really wasn't. So I recorded it, and I recorded it at 4 a.m. after the blazing row, and that's on my blog, and you can even see the red eyes. But there we go. So this is called Connie Bear. I collect the kids from school. My youngest daughter's beaming. She looks at me, love in her eyes. Mummy, I think I'm twinning. Fuck. That rainbow treasure chest reception get when trying their best. She's got the jackpot and no less. Connie Bear. And that means no rest. I'm sure each primary has one. A mascot that's sent home. Connie and I have history, all our children she has known. I'm not sure where she came from, and I'm not quite sure her age. Parents take happy photographs and print them on a page. Right, I cut the crap. Here's the school with me in the bear. 9 children through our lovely village school means that this bear there has been to our house once every 24 months for 16 fucking years. And it wouldn't be so bad, but some parents take it to southern Spain, other parents take it to Australia again, and well, where Connie Bear has been before. Tea parties and space galore, company rides in 4x4s, now back to our house to endure. Overcrowded house instead with screaming kids and broken beds. You see those glowing eyes? They've seen all walks of life and in between. And our youngest kiddie, she's right switched on. She's written a whole list of requirements for the bear. We've got dietary needs and bedtime routines, and she'll have to sit at her own chair, strapped in the car, for that is fair. We can't even fit all the fucking kids in the car. Where's the bloody kit bear gonna sit? I could lend her to our terrier, then in our garden bury her. I kind of feel relieved for her that Vincent's near end of register. Maybe that's not how school choose, but they knew we were bound to lose her shitting poxy tiny bag with tiny items she once had. This time, though I'm relieved, I'm confused, because where were those fucking little shoes? I hand it to her. Oh, girl progressed. She was in a fucking house dress, but look at her, a sorry mess. Been through the mill, I must confess. She's knocking on, she's got about. Our toddlers try to gorge eyes out. But here, would you look at that? She now has bilateral cataracts. I would take stage photos of her stay, keep my unruly teens away. But Connie Bear had come to play on a fucking bank holiday. My older kids are one thing, my youngest, quite another. Tell school the score and so much more, a god just like a mother. But you know what? Come that Tuesday, I felt a tad emotional. Our kids grew up with Connie Bear the last time she was back to school. So I bought the old girl a gift, a bed jacket to keep her warm. Not new, not torn, but never worn, too small for our youngest when born. And we don't need the baby clothes now because our kids are growing up. That bear has had her share of love and children fucking beaming. I'll give her a credit. I won't forget it. For kids must all keep dreaming. Thank you.
Oh man, Kerry, I love your stuff so much. Like,
Thank you for having me.
So I actually was hoping you would perform that poem, Kerry, because I remember you performing it at Sprout Spoken, where we both were feature performers, because they had a Cornish lineup of, you know, spoken word artists that had come from Cornwall. And I remember hearing it live for the first time and thinking, oh man, this poem. And I'm so glad you performed it tonight. Can we give a massive round of applause, please, to Kerry?
Thank you.
Okay, so our next performer, I have to read. Okay, so our next performer, I first heard her at, some of you guys might know Alex Vellis. He's another producer for Winchesterfest, and he does a lot of poetry outreach things in Canterbury. Miriam actually performed at his, Miriam, I want to say 30th birthday? 31st, maybe? I don't know how old he was. He was 30 something.
It was a birthday.
It was a birthday. He was 30 something. And I first heard Miriam perform from her collection Sakura, and her words are just absolutely incredible. And I was very lucky to hear her perform at an event for Winchesterfest that I wasn't hosting, so I could sit back and relax and really listen to her words. And I'm really excited to have her back with us tonight for the after party. So Miriam San Marco is a poet, promoter, and creative writing facilitator. As a Bournemouth Poet Laureate, Miriam has been leading a creative writing and development programme for local writers with the support of Bournemouth libraries, and continues to support poetic initiatives in local schools. She founded Word Makers and Silence Breakers in 2016 and curates a bi-monthly spoken word night at Chaplin's Cellar Bar, which I really hope will come back after all the COVID stuff is over.
So do I.
Her debut collection, Sakura, was published by Burning Eye Books in June 2018. So can we please all welcome Miriam San Marco to the virtual stage?
Whoop whoop. Hi guys. This is all new work which I've been writing in since lockdown started. Some of it is very well, it's poetry, more page, and some of it is not. And just on the content, yeah, there's just going to be talk of addiction and death and sad things. And but we'll start with something nice. Well, kind of. This is about a date, and it's called Black Coffee Drunk Old. I've rehearsed the conversation we should have had. What you would say, how I would answer, where it would happen, what I would wear. I decided it would be a sunny day, spring early morning that could turn blood warm later. You'd say, hey, fight for the right words, the nice words, the $1 million words. And I would remember the exact tilt of your head, looking down and left when ashamed. You would apologize for how you left it last time we got together. I'd say fuck you in my head and smile. The date would be short, awkward, and we'd both leave not having said one word that is true. You stand just so sunny morning, spring early, and your face glows like night and dark and pain have never been born. It's real life, and all I can think is my leg touching your leg from hip to thigh, and I don't know if it burns. A carbon copy that's smudged in all the right places. I remember jumping. All right. This next one is called Kiss Once, Wash Twice. I have to go, you say. I turn to the sink, wash the empty. Hands grab my belt and spin, fingers dig into soft belly flesh, rough stubble from collarbone to neck, lips smash our bodies together. We kiss like we're drowning. In the dark, I think of endings. I drink coffee, smoke cigarette, look at the sink. I want to be a brittle woman with spots in her hands and cloud in her eyes. Later, I lean by the quiet bed, pick up a scrap of paper and read my 7-year-old handwriting. I love you, Granny, and I will always do the washing up. I think I should kiss you, but you've shrunk and you're cold and your eyes are closed. I leave your door open, walk to the kitchen, and start on the washing up. These two poems were published recently on an online and print poetry journal called One Hand Clapping, which is really good. I'll recommend it to you all. Okay, this is like a little bit different. It's called The In-Between Days. I knew what my poison was. I drank to enough. I drank to more than enough. I drank like drinking worth breathing, like drinking would give me answers to questions I haven't asked yet. I built a cage out the pieces of my bad self, binding steel plate to hollow bones, fusing old scars to fresh cut, grafting silence onto my vocal cords. I chose to believe and tried the new shiny thing. I tell myself, this is what humans do. I tell myself, take one step. I tell myself, heel, toe, heel, toe. I tell myself to feel the ground. I tell myself there is a good tired at the end of a long walk, and there is laughing with friends, and there is food you've learned how to cook, and clean clothes to strut in, and white iron sheet on the white iron bed. I tell myself, this is what humans do. I think I know my poison. But tick tock, and time goes on. I stand still, life pretty, play the role of my life, play the role for my life, build the cage better, build the cage stronger, build the cage for years. I lock the door with diamonds on my finger, convince myself this is control, this is freedom, this is safe. I'm the bluebird now, and I drink my poison. And tick-tock, time goes on, and every night I dream I'm drowning, and every day I lie more, and every day I hurt more, and every day I twist myself into the shape of a person I no longer respect. And every day I'm the daughter of, and every day I'm the wife of, and every day I'm the mother of, and my own name is unspoken. I drink my poison, and I say thank you, and every night I wait to dream. All right. Oh, last one. So, when I first started out, my first ever spoken word poem was a poem called "How Are You?" Because I pretty much hate that question, and you can never be truthful. And anyway, I find it loaded. But now asking people how they are, oh my God. So, how are things? Things. Things. I don't even know what things are. Things are beyond fucked. Things are like 100 baby turtles running for the sea. Things live under the bed, waiting for that time where it's no longer quiet, but it's not morning yet, and the air is so still and the quiet's so quiet. I want to punch glass. I hear the sound in my head. It's beautiful, like a slow motion car crash. And there is my street, and And there are familiar houses, and there my boots make a walking sound, and it's real, but you don't see with your eyes because they lie to you all the time. Things sit on the edge of your bed and they say, look, or is it listen? They say you can talk to a friend because things are helpful and friends are helpful and eating food is helpful. I do none of these things. I don't listen to things that say sensible things. They're not real. Not the things, not the friends. I hear the things whispering amongst themselves. They take note with a, tell me more. I don't speak to the things. I go back to the times when not talking to the things was easy. Time peels a banana like a hungry monkey, and look, there's me in the shop buying rum or beer or wine or brandy, and there's me lying to myself that it's all fine and one drink is one drink and one drink is not all the drink and one drink buys some weed and I fucking hate weed. But it's all fine. And one drink scores some pills that could be anything but fuck it and swallows. And one drink flirts with anything that moves. And one drink kisses and moans and stops thinking. And one drink stops hurting. And one drink can't hear the things whispering anymore and feels nothing. It's wonderful. I finish eating the banana and open the fridge. Check the can that I've left in there 3 years ago is unopened. And the wine bottle has its cork on, and they do. And the things go on, and the things say, look, or is it listen? And I don't listen, and I don't speak.
Oh, that last line, like anyone who's met me know that I babble crap all the time, but that last line just proper got me. That was so beautiful, Miriam.
Thanks,
and
Laura.
your line when you said, I had to write this down, the line when you said kiss like we're drowning as well, and
Kiss like we're drowning.
Yeah, and the repetition you had in there, and when you said about looking and listening, and the way the repetition of that, just that last poem in particular was so incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing your new work with us. I feel honoured. Like, people are coming here to this online event and they're sharing new work. Thank you so much for being here.
Hopefully, I'm writing a show at the moment, so hopefully, which I will get it funded. I'm working with a theatre, and maybe by the summer, you'll have a show to see. Ooh,
hopefully, and if we can travel again, I'll definitely come up and have a come see it.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning to travel and do live performances. Miss them.
Same. Can we give a massive round of applause, please, to Miriam?
Thank you.
Oh, I love seeing all these little faces clapping. Oh. So our next performer, we are almost halfway through, is another person who I had the absolute honour of meeting at, again, the Arvon retreat in collaboration with Apples and Snakes. Since then, she's come, Rachel Lewis, she has come and she's performed at, we did a few Arvon shows as part of, that I was hosting as part of the original WINCHESTERFEST, and it was all poets that I'd met at Arvon. Rachel performed at that, as did other Rachel and Christy, and she's back again, and I'm really excited to have her here. She's also got a brilliant workshop called Writing Happiness, which she does with fellow writer who I also met at Arvon called Elspeth, which is also brilliant. And so her bio is Rachel Lewis's debut poetry pamphlet won the 2019 Wordsmith Prize and was published by Wordsmith HQ. She is a former Foyle Young Poet and an alumna of the Roundhouse Cross Arts Collective and the Poet in the City Young Producers programme. She was recently shortlisted for the 2020 Poetry London Mentoring Programme, and she's currently writing a collection exploring her family's connections with Belfast and Judaism, which I believe started to be born at Arbonne. Am I right?
It did. You were there. You got it to with you.
So can we please welcome Rachel Lewis to the virtual stage?
Oh, I can see myself. I'm big. I'm going to make myself small. Thanks so much for having me back, Laura. It's really lovely to be here again. I'm also going to do some new work. I have been to quite a lot of online workshops in lockdown, and at a recent one, someone asked me to write a love poem, which is actually not something I can do, really not able to. So instead, I wrote a poem about looking into other people's windows, which I think is basically the same, and I'm going to read that. It's called Night Walks. It is impossible not to look, but do it as subtly as we can. See the lovers talking with their backs to us, to teacups on their dining table. The flip of a child jumping upstairs. The creased soles at the window swaying back and forth above the sill. The husband standing dead center above his seated wife, her grimacing as he trims the hair at the nape of her bowed neck. A window ajar, and many beach towels bedraggled and dirty, Rapunzeling out. The woman posted by fluorescent lights and frying in the flat above the shop. The man stood in his basement twisting bulbs into bellies of wicker reindeer. The youthful hand caught swiping, low in a tall pane, next to a glass of wine. I am the shameless one of us. I stare even if they stare us back. I know no one will chase us down the street. Above, the winter traffic of light cloud rolls over azure motorways. The velvet jacket of the night sprouts silver buttons, and the street lamps drum like jewels around a wrinkled neck. A satellite pretends to be a star. Below, the light switches snap shut tonight's display, and so we start to talk about the landscapes we are passing through, our favorite muse, the padlocked park, the garden of banana trees, which grows enormous leaves and minuscule bananas, the alley of strange gates, its wheelie bins like standing stones in sloughs of pizza boxes. Freeze. It is the static of a fox. We walk until we reach the estate garden. One tree that flowered in the summer leans half over peeling railing. We spend a few seconds, toe to toe, then walk again, away the way we came. So another weird habit that I've developed in lockdown and that I thought it would be good to write a poem about is I've started listening very obsessionally to the same podcast over and over again about the history of Rome. It's by a guy called Mike Duncan. So this is a villanelle for Mike Duncan, and it's called I Listen to Him Running. I listen to him running each morning up Parliament Hill, and while he talks, my inner voice says nothing. He tells me the story of Rome's falling, of how the long since dead are killed. And because I listen to him running, the oaks who watch Caligula done in drop tears as Livia sells her bitter pills. And while he talks, my inner voice says nothing. But this is the pond and this is the brambled turning where Hannibal swears he'll never stop until I listen to him running. And while I eat and sleep and wake alone in clammy sheets, afraid I might be ill, and while he talks, my inner voice says nothing, and has said nothing since the beginning of this drowned all other stories out, and still listening to him feels like running. And while he talks, my inner voice says nothing. Oh, made myself big, making myself small. Yeah, so I think as Laura mentioned in my bio, I'm writing some new poems at the moment about my family's history as Jews in Northern Ireland. I think a bit of a weird thing because obviously Northern Ireland is quite famous for being divided between Protestants and Catholics, but there were some other people around, and yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of research, reading like old magazines from the 50s online, good lockdown times, and I guess a lot of what I've had to do for the project is either talk to my family on my dad's side or make things up because my dad has passed away. So this is one of the made up poems about that family history project, and it's called How My Father Lost His Voice. No Irish, no Jews, no theatricals, snarled signs on English pub doors. In for a shock he was, my father. I think I remember your man saying my father was a travelling toilet salesman when he first left Belfast after Queen's. But still you should have seen him groove in 77, playing brass in his funk rock band and growing a Jewfro. Happy, I guess. We all grow up though, so we do. Theatrical expired first, his saxophone an old dog left behind in working hours. Jew second, and the religion didn't miss him. Didn't bother he'd married a goy, didn't mutter he'd married a shiksa. And Irish last, his accent a sax dust rusted, one that seemed borrowed, long ago, for someone else to play. I'm gonna do one more before I hand you back. And yeah, as Laura mentioned, the other thing that I've been doing at the moment is thinking a lot about writing happiness. And it's something I've been interested in for a while because I did this pamphlet, which is all about recovery from mental illness and the role that I guess finding love and joy and happiness again played for me in that. And I'm gonna close with probably the happiest poem in it, which is called May Drunk. And all you need to know is that May is the name of one of the people in the pamphlet. May Drunk. They were bottles down, giggling drunk, red wine staining the cracks in their lipstick. Empty streets were all around them, but they were strung by lamplight on one chain. They could not shock each other anymore. Their bodies crossed on the sofa, the rug, the floor. They climbed into Belle's bed and there heard what each had to say, lose, share. And as they drank, they felt the world close in on their jokes, on them, their fearlessness. So if you are interested in writing happiness or this book or anything else, get in touch. And yeah, it's been so lovely to hear everyone this evening. I have really enjoyed it so far.
Ah, I love your pieces, Rachel. I'm so honoured that I got to listen to the original when you did your first kind of writings for your new collection. I know your new collection is going to be absolutely phenomenal because that piece, especially that you did, was just again, it left me breathless. It left me without words. And for someone who, you know, chats shit all the time, let's be honest, that is like the best compliment I could possibly give you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Yeah, definitely buy her book, buy Rachel's book, buy all of these lovely people that we have here tonight's books. Anything they have, buy them. It's Christmas time. People need, well, they
I have
need
Sakura by Miriam and it's amazing and everyone should buy that.
See, there you go. They're buying each other's work. Buy their work. Show your support to local artists this Christmas. Okay, can we give a massive round of applause?
You said they have my book.
Hey, I do. I saw you at She Growls and I was obsessed and I bought it.
All right.
See, sharing the love. Can we give a massive round of applause, please, to Rachel? Okay, and from one wonderful lady to another, I was trying to kind of split up the Arvin people a little bit because I didn't want to be like, oh, and another Arvin person, because everyone that was at Arvin was incredible and everyone that's here tonight is incredible. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our next performer. So our next performer, I first met Beth at, I believe, an open mic back in the realms of time somewhere in Kent, in the vague realms of my mind. I actually, her boyfriend David actually told me off the other day because what I thought was our first memory actually was our second memory. But I actually can't remember our first memory. So it was somewhere in Kent at an event. Sorry, David. But I remember then being asked to perform at a wonderful night that Beth hosts with David. It's called Big Trouble, and I can't wait for it to be up and running again after lockdown, and I encourage everyone to go to it. If you are in the Kent area, go. It's fantastic. Actually, my parents were with me, and Beth sat with my mum and invited my mum over to her house for curry. So if that's what you want from your poetry host, I know I do, then yeah, definitely go. So Beth is a Medway-based poet and one half of the Rochester Poetry Night Big Trouble. Since completing the contemporary MA at the University of Kent in 2017, she has been a regular on the Kent poetry scene. After being part of Margate Festival Poets in Residence scheme in 2019, she put together a small collection of poems called Glitter Concrete Teenage Dirtbag. She actually sent me one in the mail, and it's fucking brilliant. Her poetry has recently been published in Confluence magazine and Anti-Heroin Chic. Among other things, Bethany writes about death and being in people's cars, and has been described as the greatest car-based poet of our times and a toad in women's clothing. So please welcome to the virtual stage, Bethany Goodwell, everyone.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm just going to get right into it. So this poem is called 3 Men. You don't deserve a poem written about you, and nobody cares how much you like the backs of girls' necks. I told myself it didn't count because I wasn't scared. I told myself not to tell anyone because your wife would ask why and you wouldn't be able to tell her. I could have been the biggest mistake you've made. 2 girls on the bus are discussing being handcuffed. I wonder if they know that they're performing this knowledge, caught halfway between lust and pity. That feeling is something you can only pretend to know. Adulthood is like a suit that's too big. It's got someone else's name stitched into it and it doesn't fit. It's too loose in the arms and you look stupid. I dream of getting stuck in the lift with you, or of being in your car and it breaking down and we have to talk to each other. I'm imagining an excuse to put my hand on your shoulder or just for once to touch your face. You are shoving handfuls of chocolate cake into my mouth. Most of it misses and goes everywhere. I'm tired. It's not even my birthday. One day the polar ice caps will have completely melted without warning. You'll wake up and there'll be nothing left. It will seem very sudden, even though you always knew. There will not have been a meeting, and even if there was, you wouldn't have been invited. Women crowd together in groups to ward it off. It happens anyway. There isn't a spell that could stop it, not one that you'd know yet. This is not something you can pretend to know, but people talk about wearing the right clothes. You don't remember what you were wearing, so it couldn't have been that bad. In my dream, nobody comes to fix the car. We sit there until the world ends, water rises around us. I don't feel at home in my body because it's always waiting for you to come back. The intervening years have stopped me looking like myself. I want to know how your teeth feel in my mouth, how your name feels in my mouth. You wear the right clothes, it happens anyway. I am an unnameable, unknowable, terrible thing, not your nice car parked in a bad part of town or a bank vault someone left unlocked. If I had to compare myself to something, I would say that my body is an archive or a country with no citizens or something else that isn't home, and your hands are an illegal settlement along my contested borders. But I'm not a tired metaphor. I'm not yours. I'm not the reason you are doing this. I want to read you like a poem. Your body is a poem. The shape of your arm when you shave in the morning, your knuckles, your stomach. I want to have you. You begin to wonder if there ever were polar ice caps or if you just made those up. So I'm going to read a new one now. This one's called You Take Your Coat and Leave. You take your coat and leave. I bend time and watch car crashes in slow motion. This time I'm in the driver's seat, no longer the passive passenger, bored in the back, a witness to people's infinite capacity to destroy each other. How much worse can we make this for ourselves? Metal folds like velvet at a safe distance. The parts of myself I actually like are strewn across the central reservation. Perhaps it would be neater if we lived, saw how the carnage undoes itself. Everything straightens out, looks new. Danger vanishes into habit. I drive us home without stopping. Don't give the people who don't love each other something to talk about. You never took your coat and left. Okay, so I've got two more. This one is another new one, and it's called Nobody Tells You. Nobody tells you that you can say no. 9 years later, I'll be very angry about this. 9 years later, when nobody gets to tell me what to say. It floods through all my gaps except out of my mouth. That isn't what mouths are for. You're so old now, you just look like a painting of yourself, and paintings don't say, I'm sorry, or please hear me out. They don't tell you they'll be dead in a year and leave you with a body that distracts you from itself. You aren't a danger to anyone, and I'm not sure you ever were. I feel bad for you. I want to be a seed in your teeth your tongue can't work out, problem your mouth can never solve. I want to make myself repulsive to you, so you'll choke on me. It will be ordinary. Let's go to a town where they leave the Christmas lights up all year, because nobody can be bothered to take them down. I'll cut my own hair, teach myself to breathe again, stop flinching at everything. Okay, I'll read like two more small ones. So I made this earlier this year. I don't know if you can see it properly. I don't have any hard copies of it left, but I'm happy to email anyone the PDF if you want to read it. It's free, so the only thing you have to lose is like the 10 minutes it'll take you to read it. So I'm going to read a poem called Ambulance Chaser, which is from this collection. They're all about poems about being in people's cars, so it's basically the catastrophes of my life told through poems about car journeys. I think I was listening to the Smiths a lot, so I'm going to blame it on that. The sky is apocalyptic. Ominous nuclear winter clouds. I can see myself reach out, take the steering wheel and kill us all. No survivors to never see us again. No survivors to witness the end of time. I don't take the wheel because I'm not brave enough, and neither are you. I want to make this situation unsafe for myself and take you all with me. I want to know what you look like before you grew into your face, what you look like when you're scared. Danger follows me everywhere. The blue lights, the man in the subway, the being with you, the car, the crash. I want to crash your car and get sued for your whiplash injuries. Yeah, so I think that's me actually. I think I'm done. Thanks for having me. It's been really nice to listen to everyone.
Thank you for being here, Beth. I love listening to your work. Like, your car collection was fabulous. I actually read it to my mum. My mum loved it, and my mum she finds it hard to get poetry, and she loved it. And that your new pieces, and the second new piece in particular, really, really resonated with me. Like, some of the lines in there were just so powerful. Like, I'm actually in such a nice way. I am jealous of all of you because you are all so fucking good. Like, I'm so happy to be here in a hosting capacity, listening to all you wonderful people's wonderful words. Can we have a big massive round of applause, please, for Bethany Goodwill? Woo! So this is where ordinarily, in real life, we take a little break because we are halfway through. However, because it's Facebook Live and it's a live stream, we're not going to take a little break. However, I am going to just do a quick little let you know about some news. So I'm not performing tonight, but I am a poet, she says, in her own right. So this is my first book. This was published by Whisky Beards back in the realms of 2017 now. Look how young I look. I'm all wrinkly. If you get a chance to buy it, please do. It's on offer at the minute on the Amazon for a spoken word short film. It rains more than the national average. And it got some funding, and it was based in Cornwall, and it's just recently been part of the Cornwall Film Festival, and it talks about the reality Sorry about that, everybody. I actually don't know what happened there. So yeah, sorry about that. Facebook obviously, I guess, doesn't like Cornwall very much. But yeah, you can get Lambs with Manes of Lions
Oh no. Hello, we are jumping over to me because unfortunately Laura seems to have dropped out, which is really sad because I wanted to chat to her. Oh no. Okay, don't worry. I will introduce myself in the meantime. So I am Christy Koo. I met the lovely Laura at Arvon, that blessed time when everything was mildly, it was such a beautiful time, and then we came back to this nonsense, but here we are. Hey Laura, you're right. I was just introducing
I'm
myself.
so sorry about sorry about that. I was
no
saying to
problem.
Connor frantically, I was like, if I can go back in, I was about to say, can you please introduce Christy because she's next. Okay, I don't know which part of that people heard. Connor, would you mind? Oh, here we go. Fab. Okay, so yeah, please get this book. It ranges more than national average in it. And just very quickly, this is the new book. This is Turnstiles and Turnaround Smiles. It came out in December 2019, which turned out to be a terrible time because obviously then we went into lockdown and I didn't get to take it around shows or anything like that. However, despite all that, the page has over 500 likes, which I only noticed the other day. So to say thank you for all of that. I am going to write a post tomorrow. If you share the post, if you like the page, share the post and tell me your favorite flavor of crisps, you'll be in with a chance to win your own free copy of my new book. Ooh. So yes, please get on the page tomorrow. Laura Kestrel, and we're on Facebook, Laura Kestrel Poet at Facebook and also Instagram. Prawn Cocktail is my favorite for everyone that did notice that and they've been commenting in the chat. Without further ado, and I'm so sorry that my internet cut out, I would like to introduce our next poet. So I first met Christy again at the Arvon retreat, and I must say your makeup is looking absolutely exceptional tonight. And yeah, so I met Christy at the Arvon retreat, and I love her work. She manages to blend maths and art and just things that you think might not go together. She blends them perfectly, like science, art. She does it all incredibly. So yeah, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Christy. Christy Koo is a poet, performer, facilitator, and actor. She is a current member of the Making Lemonade Youth Creative Leadership Programme, National Youth Theatre, and Yellow Earth Academy. She is also a Barbican Young Poet alumna, which I believe she did with Kath Blair. You both did Barbican together?
No, we did the writing room together.
Writing room. Sorry, there's so many wonderful things that you guys all did. And BBC Words First 2019 finalist. So actually, I was in BBC Words First as well. And I didn't realise you were a finalist until I met you at Arvon. So yeah, Christy has headlined nights across the country and works on various poetry commissions involving short films and theatre shows. She is also a short story writer, podcast creator, and photographer. Christy is currently working towards her debut poetry collection and various other projects. Christy, are you with us?
I am. Hello. Am I spotlighted now?
Do we have you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're back. I don't know what it is. I guess you and I just have bad luck.
I've always been here, but okay. Don't worry. Yeah, well, thank you so much for introducing me, for having me on to be part of this. It's so cool, and it's been so wonderful hearing everyone's lovely work. I've gone for a glamorous pajama party look because I'm here to rival Kath. I'm joking. So yeah, here we go. I have a stopwatch on, so I will keep an eye on my own time. So this first one is coming up to 1 year of the origin of this poem, and it's called Small Print for Heartbreak, and I wrote it whilst listening to the wonderful album Melodrama by Lord. This is Small Print for Heartbreak. That was the deal, kid. It was in the small print when you signed up for falling in love. Music will sound different. Seemed like a bonus, right? You felt all music had been made for you. The Moon Rivers, the All of Me's, the Call Me Maybes. You woke up next to him and asked, how did these songs know about us? But here's the thing. The small print applies when love ends. Because you also signed up for the Heartbreak Hotels. So someone like you's the back-to-blacks in every fucking Ed Sheeran song. You now understand how guitar strings are plucked like they can pull him back. How harmonies are built as the future falls apart. You haven't listened to music in a week in case you start crying and you're so sick of that discord, or worse, in case you don't feel anything at all. You think you will never hear a note again. Music knew your love. It knows you're lost too. So play everything. All the songs he loved, the ones he hated, especially the ones he hated. The tracks you said you didn't like either, but you'd mouth every word in the dark. Scream the words silently because everyone else has gone to bed and you haven't told them the news yet. You'll find music coming out your own mouth when you haven't spoken for days. Dance your way back to yourself. If you feel guilt for feeling joy, dance harder in your bedroom, ballroom, and a laptop glow. Move with your shadow. Your darkness has always been with you. It is proof you are a solid, living thing. Slow dance with his absence until you are holding your own arms. Dance like you forgive yourself. Hey, I know. You thought you'd be done with crying at this point. Nothing is going to sound the same, but you get that now. Honey, listen. Can you hear it? It's the whole world. So we have the second poem I'm going to go for now. And I used to write these and print them out in this kind of like letter format, and I would hand them out and would have like my social media. It's kind of like a business card thing. And it has blank, so I can like write it out to people. And I miss having that interaction with real human beings. But it's like a nice little letter thing, and it's called Pass It On. To insert name here, who is sad. Please select some applicable statements from the following. Number 1, you don't have to talk. I'm sorry your sadness sits like ash in your mouth. Know that with time it will trickle out the hourglass corners of your lips and your tongue will be reborn. Your voice will come back in small sparks and we will bask in its warmth, but until then, it's okay. Number 2, you or royalty. Any hand raised near you should only be offering or helping. Crowds should part as you walk through. These ruined roads should be made straight for your feet. There should be offerings or flowers in every room you enter because you deserve it and every good thing on this earth. Option 3. About 5 days into the wound healing process, your tissues begin to regrow. A new high tide will occur every 12 hours and 25 minutes. The Big Dipper will circle Polaris every 23 hours and 56 minutes. Your body will replace itself every 7 to 10 years, and this too shall pass. Option 4. There is no blame you need to carry. You are loved and living from, and I'll put a name in it. Okay, we're about halfway through my set. We're gonna do one more oldie and then we'll jump into new stuff. Ooh, I can see you have given me jazz hands and I love it. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is called Hold a Funeral for Your Old Selves. It was published in the Words First anthology, which is with Wrecking Ball Press and Own It Publishing. And I wrote it inspired by a Joelle Taylor poem, and it's cool. And it was the line, "Everything you have ever lost is here," which is just stunning. And then Joelle actually came to the final showcase, and then came to like our after party drinks afterwards. And my editor just saw Joelle, knew that there was this poem there, went right up to her and gave her the anthology, opened it to the page, be like, "Oh look at this, look at this." And Joelle sat right next to me and read that poem. Very fortunately, she liked it, so I'm very glad. Anyway, this is Hold a Funeral for Your Old Selves. Give flowers, dress for mourning, shoulder your own casket, walk slowly. Let the weight go. Hold a minute of silence, then let it all burn. Give yourself permission to grieve. Share anecdotes and memories, laugh at your life. Read old diaries like wills. Sort old dreams like inheritances, decide what to keep. Ashes to ashes, dust, stardust. Understand that paths birth back to a universe made of us. Clasp your ashes until it's cold, until you are a diamond in your own path. sleep for 3 days, then roll back the stone. Look in the mirror, repeat this. I am here now. I am enough. I decided to include that because a lot of our old lives and our old selves have very much changed over the past year. And it's okay to kind of grieve that loss. And also celebrate you just simply being here now, because that's very important. Okay, last 2 poems. These are in my pamphlet that I'm nearly about to finish, and then I hope that we'll finish it and send it to places, and then maybe we can give over for the first time. The debut, exciting. So this is called Please Love Me Right. It is written in the style of what is called the Ogden, which is named after the poet and actor Laurie Ogden, and is created by Jeremiah Brown, known as the Sugar J Poet. And you'll see how it's formed. So it's called Please Love Me Right. Please, as in said without breath when things aren't working, as in always having to be nice even when you're hurting, as in you can refuse but I hope you don't, as in help me, as in I'm asking you, as in I'm asking myself, as in I'm in a loop where please and pleasure define each other but I don't know either. Love, as in sounds like leaves, so don't make that mistake, as in the little ways, as in not in the ways I've known so far, as in trying to write my own expectations, as in I've been taking notes, as in not the bare minimum, as in is it really that hard? Me, as in we were friends once but we haven't been speaking, as in I'm not sure I like them, as in naming Bloody Mary at reflection so at least someone can recognize them, as in this figure collects their own ghosts each year, as in have you seen this person, as in when will they come home, as in I've been leaving the door open and it's been getting cold. Right, as in not left behind, as in lift a fallen thing, as in I've made the checklist, as in yes, I'm like that, as in rules to protect myself, as in what I need is no longer negotiable. And this is the final one, which is called In Defense of Venus, because I've been writing a bunch of space-inspired and space-themed poetry. And I was doing like research into like planets and stuff, and like it's always like men and male scientists who write about Venus. And you'll see that they're just like really weird in their language about it. And it's always like, oh, this beautiful goddess in the sky, but then you go up close and then it's burning and it's dangerous and it's awful. And it's kind of like, oh, women be crazy kind of vibe, even though it's a planet. And yes, she will burn you. So shut up. So this is called In Defense of Venus. You thought if I could be your home, you could kill your own. I'm a reflection, not a light. It was your own image you loved. I'm easy to worship from a distance. I'm beautiful until I'm inhospitable. Have you ever been hit so hard your rotation's in retrograde? Here the sun rises in the west. All the warmth I've been given stays. There are no shadows here. I've survived my creation. Come closer. I like the way you burn. Who said gods had to be beautiful? That's me. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry, everyone, that my internet cut out. That's why I'm getting rid of my video in the hope that my internet will be okay. I loved that last piece. Am I right in thinking you performed it at Arvon, Christy?
No, it's brand squeaky new. It's only had
Brand
one
new!
debut before. Yeah.
Woo! Oh man, I love it when you do new stuff. I love it that everyone has come here with new stuff. I'm really sorry that I lost the first few minutes of your set because the internet kicked me out. However, everything I heard was just absolutely incredible. A favorite line of mine was sadness sits like ash in your mouth. I wrote that down because I particularly like that line, and I love your imagery. Your imagery is just absolutely stunning, and I'm so lucky that I got to share an Arvon retreat with you. And yeah, thank you ever so much for being here. And can we give another massive round of applause, please, to Christy?
Woo!
I'm going to try and be quite quick in my intros just in case the internet goes again, but fingers crossed we should be okay. So our next poet, I actually went to university with, and we did undergrad together, and we were both on French. So we both did joint honours degrees, but French was where we met. And since then, she's gone on to do, she's writing her first novel, and I have massive respect for anyone that can write a novel because my stamina just would not last that long. And we're really, really lucky. She performed at the first run of WINCHESTERFEST, and we got to hear an extract from her novel. So it's Catherine Bosworth, and I'm really excited to have her here. And Catherine Bosworth is an author and editor from Cambridgeshire, who is currently writing her debut novel, The Comfort of Love, a romance with elements of crime. She has a master's degree in creative writing from the University of Manchester, and Catherine likes countryside walks and spending time with friends and family. So without any further hesitation, can we please welcome Catherine Bosworth to the virtual stage?
Hello, thank you so much, Laura, for hosting this. You're an amazing host. Like Laura says, I'm working on my first book, and I've been writing it all throughout lockdown. So I'm just going to share chapter 7 with you today. Heather's mind raced forward, and she felt the unmistakable rotten feeling of those bad thoughts once again. The rush of Terry's body dramatically falling from the edge of the balcony, which sank lower each time that she thought about it. How do you feel when you think about it? The woman across the table asked, tapping her pen on the table. Awful, she said, nearly screaming. So, talk me through what happened. Like I said, his foot got tangled in the blanket, and then he slipped. You didn't touch him at all? Of course. I did when we were, having sex, she said, using her hands expressively. What about when he fell? Do you remember? Maybe if you think a bit more clearly about that moment, could it have been that you subconsciously felt compelled to? Heather shook her head vigorously. No, definitely not. So if evidence was found on the contrary, for example, then you would hold up this story? Heather frowned. I didn't do anything. I loved him so much. I would never want to hurt him. You two weren't together, were you? Not officially, but we were casual. Did you feel any resentment towards Terry at all for this? No, I wanted to be more, but it seems like there was some tension because of that. I wanted it to be more, but I loved him. I wouldn't push him. The woman put on a fake smile. All right, go home, Heather. Our next appointment is on Thursday, 24th. Heather pulled her chair back and left the interview room hastily. How could they think that she had done this? She ran her fingers through her hair as she walked across the cobbles. This was the second time that she had been called in for questioning, and the questions seemed to be much the same. Every time they were asked, she was thrust back to that horrifying moment of his death. Trauma surrounding her, but restricted to that 10 by 10 foot room. Each time she was released and the memories vanished, and she walked across those cobbles in front of the police station. As she walked back, she passed Palebury and Terry's block of flats. Its presence seemed to wash over her. Heather, she heard a female voice over her shoulder. As she turned around, she realised that she was passing Daphne's house. She felt fearful as Daphne approached her. I heard about Terry, Daphne said. I hope you're okay. Why do you care? Heather asked her. I'm sorry if you thought I was being unfair before. I was just trying to help you. Sometimes tough love is the only way. Heather scowled at her, but her expression slowly turned to one of despair. I loved him. Now he's gone. It's a great loss. Daphne half smiled. I know, it must hurt. It was like a burning passion and admiration that I couldn't escape from. I knew he didn't feel the same way, but that didn't help me. It was an obsession, it was. Daphne breathed heavily through her nose. It's for the best, it really is. No, it's not. Somebody died. How can that be a good thing? Heather turned around swiftly and walked away from Daphne. It was the first time that she had ever tried to properly explain her feelings for Terry to any other person. Even then, she didn't think she did it justice. She knew it was only the idea of him that inspired so much awe in her. But it was an idea that she so longed to hold on to, that getting to know the real Terry behind the veneer was as exciting and romantic as it was terrifying. If he were to act in the wrong way, her image of him would be immediately crushed and she would be left with nothing. She hung on to his memory as if it would disintegrate. When she arrived home, Heather opened the front door and saw a vase full of pink and yellow flowers sitting on the coffee table. She leaned forward to look at it and saw a note lying between the petals. "We are so sorry for your loss, Heather. Call us if you need us. Lisa, John, Salah, and Poppy." Heather started to smile, but then rolled her eyes. The way that death changed everything. Where was this support before when she was in the midst of her infatuation? She sat down on the sofa and smelt the flowers on her way. They were sickly sweet, but somehow still smelt of misery. She picked up the remote control and stared at it. She immediately felt guilty for thinking about watching TV. She was supposed to be grieving. She threw the remote on the floor and curled up in a ball. She started to think about when her mother had disappeared. They were the same hopeless feelings, except she knew that Terry was never coming back. Moments of kissing him and stroking his back flashed past her, followed by the sight of his bloody and crumpled body down below. She held her hands to her face in response to seeing the images in her mind. She heard loud voices in the distance, followed by a clunk of the door opening. Her body uncurled from the ball and she looked up. All four of her housemates were walking through the door together. They became silent upon seeing her. "Heather," said Lisa. "Are you all right?" asked John. "I'm okay," Heather started to explain. "As much as I can be. Salah, I haven't seen you in ages. I've been away for a long while, yeah. We all truly hope you're okay." "They think it's me. Did you know that? They've been questioning me like it was me who pushed him." "Of course we don't think it was you," John said. "Good, because it wasn't. I'd give my own life to have him back." "We know, Heather," Lisa said. Heather wanted to chide Lisa for how she had treated her, but the circumstances, being in front of the three others, prevented her from doing so. "We've just been out with Lily and her friends. Maybe we could all do something tonight." "Don't bother," Heather said. She stormed off to her bedroom. Her phone was sitting on the bedside table. She picked it up and witnessed the outpouring of affection for Terry. All of their mutual friends, the dodgeball group, Daphne's crowd, a few of Terry's colleagues, had all changed their profile pictures to photos of them together and were broadcasting their anguish to everyone. He was such an excellent soul who was gone too soon, amongst other things. Heather thought that maybe she should add her own message of grief, but struggled to know what to say. How could she describe Terry? They were more than friends, but he certainly wasn't her boyfriend. Writing that he was could be asking for trouble. He was so special to her, though, and she'd want to put that into words. "My heart aches at how much I miss Terry," she started to write, "and I wish I could have him back. He was so special to me, words cannot express it. Rest in peace." Flicking through her photos, she realized that she did not have a photo of them together, but added one that she had taken of him that first night that they had met at Daphne's house. He was smiling widely and his eyes were wide. He looked quite drunk. She loved that photo because of how sentimental it was. From that moment, their journey was leading them to be together until this final event when he was taken from the earth. She started crying, thinking about all that time, him laughing, cuddling, and complimenting her. The tears started to become more and more heavy, and she shared the post. Within minutes, people were reacting. Most people said RIP or condolences, and Heather thought nothing of their words of mourning. The last comment, however, was from Cassie, and Heather could hear the gushing through the screen. "He was everything to me. I wish I could kiss him again. RIP, and sorry for your loss, Heather." She read the comment over and over again. "I knew it," she said to herself, sighing. She shed a small tear. He wasn't just her Terry, he was everyone's. She looked at photos of Cassie, running her eyes over her long black hair and staring directly into her black-lined eyes. The thought of Cassie and Terry together made her feel so nauseous that she preferred not to think about it. She started to imagine a world where Cassie did not exist, where Terry was still alive. where they were together. No, he was dead. He died, Heather, don't forget. Posts related to Terry's death still littered every corner of her social media universe, all banded together with tags and links to his profile, which was still up despite his passing. RIP to our amazing son, Terry. If you want to donate to Terry's fundraiser, you can here. Heather read the post and quickly discovered it was Terry's mother. She opened up the page. The title read, Remembering Terry Pembroke. Our sweet son Terry is sadly no longer with us. He still remains with us in spirit, however, after touching the lives of many. In memory of him and his story, we are raising funds for an important documentary related to his life and death. Please give whatever you can afford to the production of our movie. Like many of you, we miss Terry more and more every day, and we want his story to be told. That's it.
Thank you for coming and sharing another chapter of your book. Okay, there we go. Thank you for coming and sharing another chapter of your book. It's been really interesting to see like the twists and turns, and I'm really looking forward to when you have it out properly so I can read like the whole thing. I honestly, massive congratulations on keeping at it and writing such a wonderful novel.
Thank you.
Thank you for
having me.
Anytime. Thank you for being here. And can we give Catherine, please? Can we all give Catherine a massive round of applause, please? It's so nice to break up the poetry a little bit. I think you're the only one who's read a story, and it was really interesting to have story writers in the event, actually. And if any of you are at home watching this right now, when we run another Arthena, please feel free to make yourself known to me. Message me on my artist page or on Whisky Beards page, because we love to have all kinds of people from all kinds of realms speaking words in all kinds of forms. Yeah. Okay. So our next performer is the wonderful Rachel. So Rachel, we met for the first time in Barcelona. We both used to live in Spain, and I lived in a very rural place, but I'd always make it up to Barcelona once a month for Poetry Slam, which is Barcelona's leading poetry slam in English, run by the wonderful Makis, who I hope he gets to set his event up again soon. And that's where I met Rachel, and her words just blew me away. It's incredible to have her here again tonight. I've been so lucky. I've got to hear her perform so many times, and every time she's still, I almost burst into tears every time I hear her, because it's so raw, so vulnerable. So you're in for a treat. I'm so excited. So Rachel's bio is: believing that there's beauty in vulnerability, Rachel will take off her armor, exposing her deepest sensitivities. She will become transparent for you in the hope that you can become unafraid of your vulnerability too. So can we please welcome Rachel Foster to the virtual stage?
Hello, this is so weird. I haven't done an online event yet this year. So I'm blessed to be here for this to be breaking my online event virginity. Yeah, as Laura says, I like to get vulnerable. So my set tonight is very based on mental health or mental ill health. I'll be starting and ending with some classic poems, if you will, and doing a couple of poems from my notebook. I haven't written a lot this year, I'll be honest. I've hit a bit of a creative drought, but I've got a couple of new poems to share from this book. This is called Old Friend. It's over, and I'm out of the door and into the cold night. Blinded by the twinkling Christmas lights, hit with real life, gripping my cigarette between my lips tight, I make my way down North Street, heading east. Making my way towards home. Thinking about finding sanctuary in my bed sheets, dreaming about the relief of peeling off my tight jeans. It's all become a bit much lately, the daily grind becoming heavy. There's a storm brewing inside me, but it's left me feeling empty. Amidst all my internal debris, there is something smiling, its crooked grin at me. My insanity. It waits for me under a single spotlight lamp at home, sinister and smirking, whispering under its breath, it tells me, you're not alone. I'm still lurking in your shadows. The brighter the spotlight on you, the more I'll follow. I swallow, clear my throat, tell it, You can follow me all you like, but I won't be giving up this fight. I'll fight until the day I die, because I'm on the hunt for a blinding light, one that leaves no shadows, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, one that hits me from every angle, one that will shower my stardust skin in spangles. I will rise, I will fly, until you have no ground to stand on. I will become one with the sun before letting you touch me again. Using paper as my armor and my sword will be my pen. You did your worst. And yet, I still emerged. I'm still here, writing circles around you, making sure you hear me loud and clear. The difference between then and now is I know now how to shout you down, get back to that crevice you oozed from. You're no longer welcome here. I will no longer live in fear. My mind has come to enjoy the feeling of being free, and it won't be giving that up easily. Insanity stares, penetrating glare. Not looking away from my eyes, it speaks louder this time. Old friend, you're all bark but no bite. You wish so long to be right, but you know I'm just as much a part of you as your rationality. The bond we've got is sisterly. You'd be nothing without me. What do you think spawned your creativity? Insanity laughs. You talk of an encompassing light, but with day comes night, and my home is the dark. I sigh. Insanity is right. But as with day comes night, night will become day. I will wake up and rise again sane. For now, I trust in my armor and sword-like paper and pen, and in the fact that the sun will rise again. Thank you. Online is so weird. I can see some people doing this, but I'm gonna imagine I can hear some clicks. So now these poems are untitled. They're just scribblings from my notebook. 2020, I think we can all agree, has been a really tough year. And I think these poems reflect maybe that unanimous struggle. The feeling of loneliness is like living in a cave, being somewhere you can't call home, just a place. To stop in stillness while you're lost your way. It's cold and the wind is loud and mimics the emptiness of the space inside your veins, a space where so much vitality rushed before, when the new day felt exciting and it wasn't a chore to see dawn, when making new friends felt easy and didn't fill you with paralyzing dread of having your heart broken again by the consequences of another ghost being left inside your bed. And my second one from my book. This is kind of a letter to myself, but I've decided to share it with you tonight. I've not been showing up to these pages, making empty promises to myself to take myself on artist dates and flaking at the last minute, stood up by my own negligence. I want to be a better partner to myself, to be able to trust myself when I say I'll be there, help myself when I'm sat on the street corner of my mind begging, offer kind words, acknowledgement, warmth, and some creative currency, because I have felt poor lately. I'm in debt to my artistry, borrowed too much time on loan and been spending mindlessly, but all is not lost yet, while I still have life in my blood and my lungs still create breath. My last poem is one that Laura will recognise. I perform it nearly every showcase I do. It's called Phoenix. It was written 4 years ago when I experienced my first psychotic episode, but it still rings true today, having had a second psychotic episode last year. And it has truth in it every time I perform it in different ways. So this is Phoenix. It's been a while since I last wrote a poem. Some time ago in dark days, my creativity was stolen. In what seemed like an eternity that passed by in a glum haze, I struggled to transfer feelings from my head to the page. But I'm back now to tell you my story, and never again will I say that I'm sorry for taking some time out to deal with demons that forced me to struggle with reality and reason. Every day I'm showered with memories of hospital beds, of white rooms, sterile sheets, and people telling me there's something wrong with my head. And up until now, I've been embarrassed and I've kept quiet. When it comes to the conversation regarding mental health, in case I might start a riot or be told that I'm lying. My granny always tells me that the best remedy for depression is to have a cry on your own. But why should you cry on your own if you're already feeling alone? We're living in a world where we're told to back up, shut up, and keep it together. So excuse me for telling you that I'm at the end of my tether and that I still have to wish that the awareness around mental health will get better. Yeah. We've come a long way, but in my darkest days, my biggest fear was being labeled crazy or insane. And because of this, I lived so long in denial that my illness had the chance to develop for quite a while, until it became critical. And therefore, I took so much longer to heal. So this one goes out to all of you who are staying strong, who are silenced for fear that what they're feeling is wrong. I'm here to tell you to not be ashamed. Life is hard, and it's okay if it's causing you pain. But more people than you know are going through it too. And once you start to open up, you'll start to notice who, and it might surprise you. Learn that talking about this is not a taboo. I'm Rachel, and I've been burnt alive and I have crumbled to ashes, but like a phoenix, I rise, I'm reborn, and this time I am back with more passion. Life doesn't have to stop because you've been mentally unwell, and trust me, whilst I know some days are a personal hell, like I said, I have a story to tell. I've been diagnosed with terms like psychotic, schizophrenic, depression, bipolar, anxiety, but one thing that I've learned is that those labels don't define me. They don't measure me. They don't describe to you the story of my recovery. And what they don't tell you is that I am constantly fighting, that I wake up and I put my boxing gloves on every morning. I battle my demons into the skies. I start soaring. What doesn't kill you, but tries to, does make you stronger. I know it's fucking cheesy, but just hang on a little longer. Listen to what I'm trying to say. We only have night, so we can have day. Darkness and light lives within all of us. We're all the same, so don't worry. You're not going insane. Today is just a bad day. Things will get better. I can promise you that. And the longer that you work to keep your mind intact, the brighter the sun will shine tomorrow, and that is a fact. Take me as living proof that by speaking out and being loud and proud, you have nothing to lose. You might inspire someone or even yourself with the stories that you have to tell. So sing them or shout them, because they'll only help in battling the stigma towards illnesses in mental health. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to have to try and do this because we have temporarily lost Connor, so I'm going to have to try and host this. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to be tech host now as well. You can't tell from at home, but I'm actually welling up and I literally have goosebumps. Like, every time you perform that piece, Rachel, I mean, it fucking, you don't even need to be in person. Like, you can get me through the fucking screen, man. But if you get a chance to see Rachel in person, I really, really do recommend it, because she is absolutely phenomenal, and I have been honoured to share a stage with her, and hopefully, you know, I'll get to see her again in person at some point.
I'm based in Nottingham now. I'll let you
Nottingham.
I'm based in Nottingham, and I've got some things that I'm applying for that I hope might, if I get in, fingers crossed, will kick off in 2020. So follow my Instagram, Rachel Ruby Foster, if you want to be updated on that.
I was just about to say your Instagram, but you've gone and done it for me. So yeah, definitely go follow Rachel on Instagram. I've tagged her in the Arthena post over on Laura Kestrel, so you can find her really easily if you have forgotten that already. And I'm sure all our lovely poets tonight and story writers will drop their social media handles in the chat, in the post for the link. So I'm going to introduce our next performer. I had the pleasure of, actually, I think the first time I met Nina, we were in a slam together. And again, I think it was probably one of Alex Vellis's slams, because it probably was one of Alex Vellis's slams, because he hosts a lot of them. Yeah, and I remember hearing Nina's poems, and they're just so beautiful, because she manages to incorporate so many different elements. And, you know, you've got really really humorous elements, and then you've got like the stronger undertones, the more serious undertones, and I think her work is so superbly satirical. I can't wait to hear her again. So Nina's bio is: Nina has been a regular performer on the Kent poetry scene for several years. Her style tends towards the lyrical and the humorous. She is a multiple slam winner, and her debut collection, Llama on the Loose, is expected from Whisky Beards Publishing later this year. So a fellow poet on my publishing label. When her book comes out, go buy it. Can we please welcome to the virtual stage, Nina, everybody?
Hi everybody. Thanks very much. I'm actually going to continue with the theme of mental health. I haven't got satirical poems or funny poems today. I haven't performed in quite a while. I haven't written anything for quite a while. I actually had quite a big mental health moment myself for a couple of months, as I'm sure lots and lots of other people have been having. So one of the things I like to talk about a lot when I perform and when I can actually do talking on stage is this relationship that we have in our culture between this perceived relationship between creativity and mental health. And that we have a sort of myth in culture that mental illness is supposed to imbue us somehow with creativity, which is quite a funny thing to if you actually stop and think about it, right? You can go through the list of all the great artists and poets and musicians and composers and whoever your favorite greats are, right? And when people talk about mental illness and creativity, they'll pick out all the greats that died of depression, let's say died by suicide or something, be like, well, of course they died, they were tortured because they were creative geniuses and that's how it works. You could equally go through that list and pick out all the people who died of syphilis or like TB. And I have never in my life heard anybody say, well, of course he died of syphilis, he was a creative genius, right? There's this perceived relationship between, thanks for the clicks, you guys, I see them. This perceived relationship between mental illness or mental health issues and creativity, which puts such pressure on us as artists, because it tells us in a way, well, yeah, if you have a problem, don't go get better. Don't you go get better. Don't you go heal. You're going to lose your creative spark, right? I talk about it a lot. I run workshops on this. This is so incredibly important. But this poem I'm reading from my book, which by the way has llama on the cover, is about that relationship. And it brings up the myth, an actual real myth, Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus was a musician, if you don't remember. He was in love with beautiful Eurydice. She died, and her soul went to the afterlife, where Orpheus followed her to try and get her soul back. And he played beautiful music to the god of the underworld to try and get his lover's soul back to the living. The music was so beautiful that the god of the dead agreed to return Eurydice, but as Orpheus was leading her back, he turned around, looked at her, and she was lost forever. And this is the poem, which, by the way, comes again from my book, which is available on pre-order from Whisky Beards from the website. It should be being printed like literally, not now in the middle of the night, but like now. So hopefully we'll actually get it out soon. This breath of fire, this grand and unrelenting astonishment, before the world repenting of being not more than itself, aghast at its own smallness, holding fast to all the splendid universe it sees. If I could be redeemed in its creation or grasp it in my hand, then the elation it had bestowed on me might last. But no, it goes, and I go too into the dark. There in the shadow of a greater feeling, compelled as though by ghostly footsteps stealing along some silent, senseless path. I've long known that what's in me that is broken is not some token of creative spark. Familiar wisdom, often half unspoken, instructs that we should suffer for our art, that we must pay the muses thus. But no, how can this breath of fire be bought and sold, a force that rocks the heart reduced to barter? What bleak abysses of some dismal cold could I pretend to give in recompense? The ancient muses suffer no pretense. They care for neither martyrdom nor fashion. Instead, they see us thrown into our passions like melodies are cast off from the string. the blessed flying and the fall and kneeling, and all because they know our truest feelings are written from the knees or from the wing. Perhaps in their forgotten wisdom's laws, there's sacred cause to bring this magic law. Perhaps Eurydice leads Orpheus below, not so the gods can play at lovers' parting, but so he takes his harp into the coldest, darkest heart of things. So in his great illuminating breath, elated with the breadth and heat of life, no memory of silence or of shame, or nor even death can harbor any sting, so that the shades awaken and can dance like melodies delighting in the string, find flight in falling or be blessed in kneeling, can face their mysteries and tell them freely, it is enough to sing. Thanks very much. I can hear my voice going. I haven't performed in such a long time. I'm going to do one more. It's a longish one. I'm going to do We Can Be Pirates, which is a poem that I do a lot. I haven't done for a while. And it's one of those poems that actually, if I come up to a poetry night, I do regularly, and I say, any requests? Almost always somebody will say pirates, and then I have to do it because I tell myself if somebody asks for this poem, I always have to do it. And here it is. Blind judgment confines us to whatever we see. So you might think I'm innocent looking at me, but I started young. By the time I was 5, I'd already racked up a lifetime of crime. Crime in my house was stepping on floorboards, or turning around with the wrong expression. It was dropping a paintbrush or asking a question in the wrong tone of voice. When the shouting would start, it was trying to silence each beat of your heart in an effort to stop all hell breaking loose. I don't write poems about abuse because it's taken enough of my life as it is. But I just had to say, if you're one of those kids who was hopeless at school because you just couldn't cope, and the bell, like the noose on the end of the rope when you got to go home and it's going to be worse and you're thinking, I'm fucked or possibly cursed. And now you've grown up and have wonderful friends who always tell you it wasn't your fault. And some days I believe that. And then I know better. I could have followed this script to the letter. I'm the one who talked back and I earned what I got. No, don't tell me it's nonsense. I know it's wrong, but this is the darkness that wherever I go goes with me. So listen, if this is you, we may never be good, but we can be pirates. We can sail through the night and count up the stars and make infinite worlds of our desert islands. We can scowl like monsters or hide like ghosts in the fold of our horrible pirate host, because I'd rather be bad and be with you. So put your name down for my pirate crew. Not the name that you give, but the name that they called you. So we can have pirate bitch, pirate stupid, and pirate worthless. Pirate, you fucking idiot, I fucking told you. Pirate, you should be grateful because you deserved it. Pirate, your mother should have kept her legs crossed. We don't have to believe in it or condone it, but if this is our shit, then we might as well own it. Because the minute we do, then I promise you this, that the prim and the proper who make all the rules, when they see us coming down the high seas, they won't quake. Oh no, they will piss in their boots. Because they know the access we've been denied is to anyone else's version of right. We know what it's like to be cast aside to the distant poles of a petrified life, to the frozen wastes of the wordless numb. We know all about fear. And if I come to the pearly gates of some loving God who throws every sinner in searing flame, welcomes only the righteous, well, sign me up to salute his demands from the depths of hell till the end of eternity, because somebody ought to. And I might as well be the one who's going to take your hand, be you blessed or damned, because I'll testify that no triumph of being right compares to the human magic of being held. And I don't believe, at the end of it all, in a cosmos that's empty or cruel or cold, but I know it's tempting. if the shadows fall, and if you start to ask what this living is worth, I'd rather go with you to that end of the earth than the earth be without you. So never you mind if somebody wants us labeled and filed as damaged but trying or traumatized, because we could be pirates. Pain isn't a prize, nor a life sentence, nor a mistake, and the clock isn't ticking for anyone's sake. It's not time that we're given, it's time that we take, and no past can define what we've made of defiance. And in a world that demeans and divides us, there is no greater defiance than kindness. I could have this all wrong, be that as it may. When I stand with you on Judgment Day, you don't have to explain. I don't need to know why. Because I hope it's an age to that end of the line, but wherever we're headed, it's love or bust. And because we are redeemed, not in anyone's eye, but in us. Thanks very much, you guys. Have a good evening.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, Nina, thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm so glad you were able to make it. I'm actually gutted because I haven't managed to see you perform live for such a long time. And I was so lucky that, and I'm so happy that you could come and perform tonight. And I was really hoping you would do that final poem. And it just, the line especially, no greater defiance than kindness. I think, you know, when you hear poets perform quite a lot and you kind of get like a poem that kind of reminds you of them, or a line that reminds you of them, that line definitely reminds me of you. And thank you for sharing that poem with us again tonight, and some loads of lovely words. So can we give a massive round of applause please for Nina? Woo! Feel free to unmute if you want to clap and we can hear you. Like, that's no problem at all. Love it. Okay. So as some of you might know, my internet's been a little spotty, so I'm trying not to be too slow. So our next performer, we actually went to school together, secondary school, but we didn't really know each other too well because I'm a couple years older. But I was actually at school with their sibling, and I didn't really know them too well, and then I saw them become, you know, really big on the Bristol scene, and I remember thinking, hey, I know that person, I know them. And since then I've been really lucky. I've had them perform a few times live, and I've been trying to catch up on the events that they've been performing at via the computer, which has been great. I've been following what everybody's been up to. And so the bio. Aisha is a voice from the trembling darkness, a soft enchantment into a hard-lined world. As one of Bristol's best-loved rising stars, they share parts of themselves in all its mess and glory. They have pressed their boots to the top of the Bristol slam scene and performed at UK festivals Shindig and the Great Estate. They are set to compete in Hammerington's National Final, everybody, in 2021. Can we please welcome Aisha to the virtual stage?
Hello, thank you. It's great to be here. That's 2021 because it didn't happen this year for obvious reasons. It was meant to be this year, the final, but that just means I've got extra time to prepare. So I'm just going to go straight in with a poem. This is called For the Love of Girls. I don't want to talk about how many times I felt my heart leave my chest every time I walked alone in the night. I don't want to talk about how when I was still a girl, I was conditioned to shrink in towards my bones, holding in my breath. I don't want to talk about how now I am not a girl, the weight is still the same. I want to talk about all the ways in which my girlhood was a blessing, how I fall in love with the spirit of the girls who do not care that they're being outrageously dramatic. I want them to know their drama is the most beautiful thing I still know how to do. I want to talk about the girls who fall helplessly in love with almost anything. and how maybe that's not their weakness, how maybe that's what makes them so deserving. I want to talk about the girls who painted my nails in hospital beds. I do not want to remember how we compared our pain like it was a beauty contest. I want to talk about how much we loved each other through it all. I want that to be my memory. I want to remember them for the wide-eyed angels that they were. I do not want to talk about their scars, though I know how they ache. I want to talk about the notes we left each other, each one a love poem, each one a carefully crafted song. They say nostalgia is a bitch, but I bet we were the worst of it. I bet we were the bitches the boys talked about in the locker room. I bet they branded us prudes and sluts and whores. Let us take back our swords. I am not a girl, but I still know how to scream like one. I am not a girl, but my body disguises itself as one, and for that, tonight, I am glad. Though I hate my own chest most days, though I want my breasts to disappear like a girl in the night, some days I am proud of the shape of me. I think it's what made me know how to throw my whole self in. I want to talk about my sister and that secret language only we know. I want to talk about my mother, her soft smile and her sharp edges. I want to talk about my housemate and her tenderness. How when the nights are so unforgiving, we can just sit on her bed, smoke until our lungs ache from the laughter. I want to talk about all the girls that got lost in the dark and how they're still here with me. How I still sing their names. Let's all sing their names. Let's sing her name. Thank you. Yeah, that's a poem I wrote last year. It's kind of about being socialized as a girl, but not being a girl, but also being really thankful for the ways in which girlhood, or the things that girlhood gave to me, I guess. Yeah, like probably many people, I've not written much during this time, but I've written a few things, so I'm going to share my newest stuff. This next one is about, basically I spent like 6 weeks living by myself in lockdown, and it was really terrifying for me because I don't like being alone, and I was scared of being murdered basically in the flat. So this is a poem I wrote about that. Most nights I am being murdered by a familiar man with a face I could maybe pick out in a crowd. He always looks a bit like someone I could love if only his hands were not wrapped around my throat. What I'm saying is, I'm certain all of us could love a killer. What I mean is, I shouldn't listen to my favorite murder before I go to sleep. The nightmare ends and I wake up a ghost. The nightmare ends and the window is as closed as I left it. My limbs not hung up in the closet. I am alive, but I don't know if I exist. There is no one here to touch me, therefore I am a ghost. Nighttime falls on me again, and I crack the window open to help me breathe. I wake at 2 a.m. to the silence. I wake at 3 a.m. to the sound of foxes fucking, and it sounds like a girl screaming. Pleasure and pain sometimes just sound the same. I hope they feel held by each other. I go to smoke on the front step in the dark, hand clutching the keys in my pocket. Each scratch of key on finger is a prayer that one day I'll wake up less scared. Maybe I'll join the gym, take a self-defense class, become a cult leader who turns killer men into kinder men. Maybe I should stop trying to fix something I didn't break. Will I ever get tired of the rehearsal? These fragile mornings I wake up and practice all the ways I can vanish on my route home in the dark. All the ways I practice my own haunting. All the ways I will eventually be blamed for my own murder. All the ways I'll be found bloody in a ditch or a bathtub with no Netflix documentary or podcast episode to commemorate me. Thank you. I think I'm just going to do one more. Thanks so much for having me. You can find me on Instagram, Aisha_poetry. You can find me on Facebook, Aisha Poetry. I think everywhere just Aisha Poetry. Yeah, I'm gonna do one last short one. I wrote this like just the other day. I was thinking about things that I miss about before everything. And then also about how maybe things weren't so great before, but we've just romanticized them. So yeah, this is called Text Me When You Get Home. I miss hearing a friend say, text me when you get home. As we say goodbye after the pub, I think my love language is safety and knowing that you still think of me when I'm not around. Sometimes I forget to send the text as I rush home to microwave leftovers, inhale them like smoke from Tupperware. Next thing I know, it's Sunday morning, so I send them a text saying, I didn't die last night. I love you. See you soon. And maybe we see each other soon, or we don't, because our lives are heavier these days, and sometimes it's easier not to call, and sometimes we are too broke for the pub, and sometimes we can't leave the house. I think I've romanticized the before, as if things weren't so messy, as if I didn't still struggle to breathe in this city and fall in love with the things not meant for me. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Ah, that was so incredible. I'm so glad you could come and perform for us tonight. I was writing down lines that I loved, and then I ran out of space on my piece of paper to write down lines. I've written down 3 and now I have no more room. Your first poem was incredible. I always loved to hear that one. I think I've heard that one before and it was great. And that last poem, fucking hell, you only wrote that a few days ago.
Yeah.
That was so good. Especially the line where you said our lives are heavier these days. That really resonated with me, and I'm sure it did for a lot of people in our audience and the other poets we have here tonight. Thank you ever so much for sharing your gift with us and with the live stream. So, can we give a massive round of applause, please, for Aisha? Okay, so our next poet, I actually have a really cute story actually about this poet. So this next poet messaged me. We were in a virtual stand together in New Zealand, and she messaged me saying, I think it was something along the lines of, I don't remember completely, but like something along the lines of, I'm a little intimidated by you. Like, I've heard your work before and it's brilliant. And I'm a bit nervous to be up against you. And like, she had no reason to be nervous, man. Your stuff, Holly, is absolutely incredible. Like, as soon as I heard you perform at the slam, I was like, she's gonna win this. Like, 100% she's gonna win this. And she went and fucking won it. Yeah. So the bio for Holly. Holly is a trained dancer, actress, and lockdown poet, drawing from her collective personal life experiences. She aims to shine a light on the beautiful struggle exploring topics such as mental health. Winner of 2 virtual slams in New Zealand and runner-up at Ooh Beehive, Holly is due to have her first written piece published in an anthology by the Little Boutique Hub. She creates a conversational storytelling feel that is unmistakably authentic. Oh, I wanted to do something very quickly, and I'm going to do it now before I forget. Sorry. I meant to say, Aisha, do you have your postcards with you by any chance? Aisha is selling postcards that have her poetry on them. So if you follow them on Instagram or on Facebook, please do buy some of their wonderful postcards, because I've seen the artwork for them and it's great. And I also wanted to say, please go follow Holly on Facebook. She's recently released a poetry video where she performed, you'll have to forgive me, I've forgotten the name.
Dressing Gown People.
Dressing Gown People. She's recently filmed it and it is now live, and it's, you know, around the realms of Facebook, so please go check it out. Okay, so can we please welcome Holly D to the virtual stage?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm all like flushed. What a lovely, lovely introduction. I love you. And yeah, true story. I was so like, oh, I shouldn't be here. So I couldn't believe it. And it was amazing to be in the final with you. You made me level up. So thank you. Yeah, I'm Holly D. I'm a spoken word poet from Essex. And I mainly write about mental health, my own personal experiences. But more recently, I've been trying to, you know, push my barriers. So I've got a mixture of stuff to share with you today. So the first piece I want to share, I wrote quite a while ago when I was feeling like woman power. I think it's quite fitting. So my little warm-up piece is called The Lady of Lead. The man of steel, amazing if he were real. Fast, strong, a protector, many people's dream, like that white knight galloping across the horizon, like a scene from a fairy tale, a book which many of us mistook the fantasy for possibility. And this got me thinking, you can forget your white knight, keep your man of steel, because I'm real. Call me the Lady of Lead. I can be fast, strong, a protector, and I can go on better. I can mould life. Now, this story already has a book of its own, a gift, a miracle. And for all you who are cynical, I just know one day you'll witness it and fall in love. I believe between fantasy and reality we learn, between motion and action we grow. It's just good to know what nature has in tow. So I'm ready to take on the world and her wife in the fight for life and thrill of the ride. I'll take it all in my stride, and if I choose to have a child, I'll teach them to be brave and not to hide. Because I don't need a white knight or a man of steel. I'm real and I am the Lady of Lead. I'm a woman, bold, brave, beautiful, resilient, a nurturer, fast, strong, a protector, and I can go on better. I can mould life. Thank you so much. Just a nice little fun one. Yeah, so I wanted to perform for you, Dressing Gown People. You can find on my Instagram, my Facebook, and I've just started a YouTube channel, so it is the only video on there. I was really inspired by, well, the first and second lockdown. So I've kind of done 2 pieces I'm going to merge together as one. So the first lockdown, I was like, this is great. It's kind of a loophole for my anxiety. Who's going to know if I'm having a downtime because I'm in my pajamas, but everyone is, so it's fine. And then I've done one that's a little bit heavier for the second lockdown when, you know, you can only ride that wave so long. So I really wanted to highlight the real fine line between comfort and a coping mechanism. So this is called Dressing Gown People. Everyone loves loopholes, that space unseen, grey area between black and white, right and wrong, that thing you can't always put your finger on. COVID-19 was that loophole unforeseen for my anxiety routine. Lockdown for some, it's helped them to create, others it's been shit and really not that great. Well, for me, it suited me down to a T, and I wonder if it suits others with social anxiety. You see, I no longer have this meltdown in what to wear, the state of my hair, overthinking what people are thinking, or even if they care, that feeling is no longer there. I don't have to worry about letting down my mates because, well, no one's making any plans or setting any dates. I don't have to get dressed or take a shower, or I could even go back to bed for another hour. But that's okay, we're all on lockdown anyway. Yeah, COVID-19 is definitely that loophole unforeseen for my anxiety routine. The only thing is this new routine used to be my old routine for when things were getting bad, how I could tell when I was actually sad. It's mad. I'm now stuck in that space unseen where everything is grey and people have stopped checking in to see if I'm okay. It's not their fault. How would they know? Look around, we're all on Zoom with our PJs on show. Even as I look across the back gardens on my little street, we all look like a congregation waiting at a steeple, our little street of dressing gown people. And I wonder, Is COVID-19 a loophole unforeseen for their anxiety routine? I really hope someone will ask, because life is like a full-time job we've had no training for. We're supposed to go out and explore, but my anxiety has me glued to my hallway floor. I don't always get out my own front door. And self-care, this really should have been taught in school. It's such an important tool that I struggle to sustain, so it feels like this daily failure I remain. But I guess we had our A to C grades and government-chosen subjects to ascertain, and I think for society that's a real damn shame. Because what's the point in passing with flying colours if your wings were grey clipped before you start? In a world where we're supposed to play our part but unable to indulge in live poetry, music, theatre or art means I've only got self-sabotage and catastrophisation down to a fine art. And right now I know my ceiling so well it's astounding. This lonely feeling has me tear-streaked and frowning. My heart is continually pounding. My mind is so crowded I'm drowning. And I've been home for so long now I've forgotten how to talk, eat food that doesn't require a fork. Road I'm going to be found and outlined in chalk. I should really go out for a walk, but social media is easier to stalk, so I don't go out. My four walls feel much safer. They hug me in the silence as I put pen to paper, hoping one day I can share these thoughts aloud later. Life is that full-time job we've had no training for. But I want to go out and explore, leave behind my hallway floor, make it out my own front door. But today, it's okay that I only made it here. Thank you so much. Yeah, so kind of part one, part two, I thought they went quite well together as like a little bit of a journey. So the next piece, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I've tried to challenge myself, and I took the concept of doing the alphabet poem. I don't know if you've seen that challenge. So you can write everything to do with A, to do with B. There's no rule. You can kind of pick whatever letter you like. So I did it as a free writing exercise, and I basically wrote a rant. So I want to share that with you. And I've titled this Help. Are arguing aristocrats actually achieving anything? America's always AWOL. Austerity and anti-Semitism are algorithms applied across ages. Angry activists are after acknowledgement and accountability. And apologies always accepted. Actually, Bojo. Bye, Boris. Bugger back behind your burnt Brexit barbecue. Britain's beyond belief. Boys be boys. Keep Britain British. Borderline bankrupt. Basically bullshit. Be bilingual. Behold B-boys battling breakbeats. B-girls breaking bias binary. Beguiling ballet boys becoming brave. Be bold, be beautiful, burn, baby, burn. Beggars can't be choosers, but can create colourful careers. Current crises. Crazy corrupt countries clearly condoning crimes. A continuous car crash causing currency chaos. Closeted colonialism, conversion camp compliance. Completely criminal charging children crammed in containers and clinging to capsized canoes. Cruel, carelessly condemned. Come clean. COVID-19, consciously created, covertly covered up. Don't do as I do as I say. Don't go out, do go out, but don't. Devil's in the detail. A disambiguated democracy demonstrated disgracefully a double dose of dogmatic double standards. Does a disowned dog daydream during downtime? Damned if it does, damned if it don't. Downright depressing. Don't discriminate. Do demonstrate diligence. Dream, drive, donate. Excuse England's excuses, an eye for an eye. Elitists everywhere explaining economy exceeds human needs, encouraging illicit engagement while egg timers ended. Exhausted exhalation, extreme acceleration, experienced enlightenment. Eventually, everyone, everywhere elevates everyone else's existence, equality echoes an evergreen ending. F. Fuck fascism. We're all firefighters, fighting furious fires. Furthermore, forget not what we're fighting for. Freedom, feminism, free from fear, full frame focus. Frequent forests, forage for fruit, find figs, firefly, fly far. Forget fool's gold and 5G. Government's a gaggle of geese, global greed, genocides, gods are the only ones goading gangs to give up guns. Grow gently, give gratitude, go galvanise, grab greatness, give gifts, go gadget, go, ghosts glow gloriously in heaven. Hearing helicopters hover as horrendous horrors happen. What happened to Happy to help? He has his honour to hold high, but won't halt hateful homophobia. Heed hospital heroes, heat homes, house homeless, know how hunger hurts, will handle humanity's heavy hearts, have humility, help. Oh, that feels so good to do when I do it. Cool. Thank you so much. What have I got? 2 minutes left. I'm going to finish off with one slightly shorter one, just because it makes me feel really good. It's quite a nice self. I can't think of the word. I'll do it for you. Hopefully you'll feel what I'm trying to express. This is called Glue. When people ask, who are you, who? Well, I say, call me Glue, that's who. I'm the friend, sister, daughter, but you ought to call me Glue because I'm the go-to. I'm the one that holds shit together. Could be yours, theirs, my mum who lives upstairs, and I'm proud to say I can hold together my own shit. Well, for a bit. You see, I have this game face. Some call it emotional armor. I think it's karma, the way certain things stick to me, like sadness and drama. My friends will tell you that I'm that listening ear in a gale force wind. I'll keep you safe in a storm. And I will tell you if your behavior is not the norm, but I promise to hold that umbrella for you until it stops raining, because it always does. And I know you can't predict when it will start again. So until then, I'll help you glue back together those pieces that were broken. It's only a token. I can't promise it will hold like super glue, but it'll hold for now if you want it to. Everyone's glue grows tacky and weak if it's left out in the rain, but too long, there'll be cracks of pain. You lose your form in the storm, pieces get torn. When your edges start to pull apart, you come to me because I can turn trauma into art. I've got glue and glitter for that part. I often feel like this weather forecaster because I can predict a disaster, but my weatherproof protection, it's not a long-term solution. Only you can stop your exposure to the pollution. And it's not an ideal proposition, but glue can require some adult supervision. There's no shame. If it were me, I hope you do the same. So this brings me back to glue because I'm always the go-to, invisible, reliable, undeniable strength, glue. Just as hospitals use glue to seal up wounds, I'll seal that tear on your cheek with a kiss. I'll wrap my arms around you in fragile tape and help you hold it together, even though I know when I leave, you're going to go straight back out into that weather. And I have to tell myself your hurricane can't last forever. It hurts watching. So to all you out there who care and identify as glue, I salute you, whichever side of that forecast you stick to. Because many of us were actually hiding behind a lipstick, sticking a smile on our face, a prick stick, feeling if you sounded short of a picnic, your family at home are taking to make your boss at work is acting a prick, you're following social media, it's making you sick, but we need to share our glue with each other. That's the trick. I just hope this message will stick, because everything runs out, even glue. But just because your edges have started to peel away, that's not to say everything you've achieved up to now isn't okay. You just need a reapplication, be it a weekend vacation, hot chocolate in a mug, your best friend's hug. But remember this, whether you're feeling sad, ill, or you simply want to chill, you come to me for your refill. Thank you so much for having me.
Holly, I love your set so much. I'm so glad you performed glue. That was, I believe you performed that, didn't you, at the slam?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was hearing some of the words, I was gonna say lyrics, I mean, it could have been a song. I was hearing some of the words and I was like, oh man, like because I remember the words with you and I was like, that metaphor, honestly, your metaphors are so beautiful. The way you have these extended metaphors and they kind of represent something at the beginning of the poem, and then by the end of the poem, they totally represent something totally different, but still really relevant. And incredible, absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much.
Can we give a massive round of applause, please, to Holly D? I know what you're thinking out there at home. How have we been here for 3 hours? It feels like 10 minutes. Well, I'll tell you why it is. It is because I could not possibly make this any shorter, because there's so many wonderful poets I wanted you all to hear. And if anyone wants to come to me and say, give me a list of 20 people you would recommend, 20 female and non-binary poets, I would give you these wonderful people. So thank you. If you stuck around for this whole event, massive, massive thank you. If you're dipping in and out, it's great to see you. I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. We've still got a few wonderful poets just to finish us off. And so that brings us on to our next poet. So I was actually very happy very lucky to meet Gemma as a producer for Winchesterfest. So out of the kind of 6 producers that were running things near the second half of the festival, Gemma and I came to help. And that's where I first met her, and she is absolutely wonderful, and she's a publisher and she does loads of other great stuff, and she always has a really beautiful living room that's always really tidy and aesthetically pleasing, and like, fuck me, man, I wish I had a living room as pretty as yours, Gemma. Gemma's bio. Gemma Baker is a poet, publisher and creative producer, originally from Grimsby, currently living in Lincoln. She's performed at events and competitions across the UK, including the BBC Edinburgh Fringe Slam, the Poetry Rivals Final, and was commissioned to represent Lincolnshire, for the award-winning National Poetry Day / BBC Local Radio project in 2016, and for the BBC Local Radio Make a Difference project in 2020. Her latest release, The Angel in Yellow Wellies, is available on Amazon, and I do recommend you to go buy it as a gift to yourself, or, to others. So can we please welcome Gemma to the virtual stage?
Thank you very, very much. Bless you. Thank you for having me. My front room is just fairy lights. It's just fairy lights and plants. That's basically it. All the mess is just moved out of shot, so that's That's basically it, really. Thank you ever so much for having me. Yes, I have recently released The Angel in Yellow Wellies, but I can't find my copy anywhere. So I'll be reading from my second book, the big yellow book, No Word Left Unspoken. And I'm going to read a few that I don't always really read. So thank you ever so much for having me. And this is Authentic Self. I refuse to dilute myself, to soften my edges, to make myself more palatable to your taste. I am messy, and I talk too much, and I drink too much, and I fuck too much, and I will ask you everything about your life because I am passionate about people and living and understanding this terribly beautiful existence and everything's part in it. I want to know what makes what you love, what makes your eyes come alive. I want to dance with all of you through the cosmos until we find our way home. I don't want to talk to your well-trained shadow, assimilated self, safe persona that's acceptable to society. I want the complete and utter, glorious, authentic mess that is you, all. And I want to release my authentic self loose on the world. Thank you. Yeah, so this is mainly a book of, thank you guys, this is mainly a book of more performance pieces. Whereas my later one, The Angel in Yellow Wellies, is a bit of a mix of sort of page and performance poetry, and it's a lot smaller. It's a nitty bitty one compared to this. Okay, so this next poem is, I don't think I've ever read it, I'm not sure. It's called Now, and I don't know about any of you, but it's about being in one of those relationships where you just give and give and give and give and give and give and give, and it's never enough, and they just take. So yeah, this is called Now. Automatic pilot, driving still whilst the scenes blare by. I stare into your dead eye and carry the weight for you to ignite. Whilst I, flight of the bumblebee, 150 beats per minute, deliver the world to your feet, and still you are not pleased. Looking at me with partial disgust, partial discontent, as though I should be honoured to honour you in any way I can. You take whilst I offer full hand, happy to sit whilst I stand. I cannot stand it any longer, and this will get worse as time goes onward. Maybe it's your middle class upbringing that makes you feel like you're best, and maybe it's my working class upbringing that makes me feel like I'm less. I work for everything I have, I own, and you sit there expectant on your throne, but no one's coming now, because now you're alone. Yeah, I think we've all probably been in one of those relationships at one time or another, unfortunately. Let's have a little look. Again, this is another one I don't really do that much. And it's about women and being bisexual myself. People say to me, well, you don't really date women. I'm like, yeah, that's because they scare me, because they're awesome. So this is kind of about that. She is a moon-bathed sea that reflects an inspired eye, makes you feel alive. She is liquid, luminescent light, mystical and magic, complex and infinite. She is death. She is sweet coconut and sadness. She is madness, possessed, the way a full moon brings out the animal in us. She rains stars and throws moonbeams from her eyes. She is passion and subtlety and sweet lips that land delicately upon the shores of me. She tells me I taste like strawberries. I tell her she's the most beautiful creature I've ever seen. Thank you. beginning to wish I'd turned the heating down before I started performing. But it's so lovely to do poems that I don't really get to do usually. So thank you ever so much. These are all quite short ones actually. They're not really my big performance pieces. So that's quite nice to be able to do them. This is the second to last poem in this book. And yeah, this is my book of kind of like madness and debauchery. So it's kind of like my first book was like depression, the second book's like, let's run away from depression by getting drunk and doing really silly things. And then hopefully my latest book is more like, we can relax a bit now. So yeah, this is the second to last of this book. And thank you for having me. If you'd like to see more poetry, I am Gemma Baker Poet on Facebook. I also have Baker Publishing for anyone that wants to self-publish their work. And yeah, you can find all my books on Amazon. So this is Starfish. Every night that I lie alone, I claim myself back for my own. No fingers roam, no heart takes over. The bed is empty, my thoughts are clear. No awkward mornings, no apologies, no sacrificing my comfort for his. No energy lost, no regret gained, no disappointment on bedsheet stained, no pain, no frustration, no pretending I'm asleep as he leaves in the morning. No caring about looking like shit. Makeup smudged and hair a mess. Notebooks in bed, stay up late. This time is mine and I embrace, claiming myself back for my own. Love can wait. I'm finally at home. Thank you very much, guys. And I look forward to seeing the rest of the poets. Thanks a lot, bye.
Okay, Hey, back to me again. I presume we've lost Connor briefly because normally he does all the technical stuff. Thank you ever so much, Gemma. That was such a wonderful set. I love how, you have the progression of your books and your, kind of different themes coming out in the different books. And it was actually really nice to hear some of your older stuff because I only got to know you quite recently. So I haven't actually heard much of your old stuff before. So that was actually really, really enjoyable. So it was really nice to hear some of your older stuff. So yeah, can we give a massive round? Oh, that was a bit abrupt. Can we give a massive round of applause, please, to Gemma? And to everybody at home, don't worry, we will be finishing soon. But we have saved some of the not best poets because they've all been absolutely fucking incredible. But the last two poets are two poets who I know particularly well. I'm friends of everybody that's performed tonight, but I'm particularly close with these two that are going to perform for us at the end. So our next poet, we were in Words First 2019 together. And we did that in Bristol, and I think the reason we got really close was because when we had to go into pairs to like critique each other's work and to help each other, we always went into pairs together. So we got to know, I think, quite an intimate side of each other quite early on. And yeah, I absolutely love them to pieces. And I've stayed at their house. I've petted their cat. Their mum and dad and sister are absolutely wonderful also. And their work is just so beautiful. Like the imagery is just absolutely stunning. And yeah, they've even performed for one of my events down in Cornwall. And I love spending time with Georgia outside of poetry, inside of poetry. That sounded a bit weird. Anyway, so